we present King Street Junior by Jim Eldridge, starring Karl Howman as Philip Sims and James Grout as Mr. Beeston, the headmaster.
Good morning, Mr. Holiday.
Morning.
Did you have a good holiday, Mr. Holiday?
Hey, you.
Me, Mr. Holiday?
Watch it.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir.
Having trouble?
What do you think?
Doesn't take long, does it?
6 weeks of normality gets wiped out the minute you walk through these gates.
Well, you must have been keen to get back. It's only 8:30.
Ah, that was a mistake.
I believe you.
Well, nobody told me they cleared a contraflow and a bypass. I allowed 3/4 of an hour to get here. Only took me 20 minutes.
By the way, what's all this about Mr. Brown? Is it true?
Yes, I'm afraid so. I expect we'll hear the full story at the staff meeting.
You say he's coming when? Tomorrow? Look, I suppose you have heard the new school year has only just started today. No, I'm not being sarcastic. I just would have thought he could have given us a little more time to settle in. Yes, I understand that. Oh, I'm sure he does. All right. No, that's fine. Tell him we're flattered. No, flattered. Right. I'll see him tomorrow, 11 a.m. Right, thank you. Oh, God.
Morning.
What's good about it?
Well, that's a fine welcome back.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
That's better.
Mrs. Stone, it's a sheer delight. Nay, an overwhelming joy to see you. Your very presence lights my day. Well,
I think I preferred the first welcome.
oh, forgive me, I'm just fed up.
Already? School hasn't started yet.
Why are you in so early?
Well, why do you think? Today's going to be chaos, isn't it? I just want to be sure I'm well and truly prepared for it. Anyway, what's
Heavens,
your
look at the time. I've got a staff meeting before assembly.
Oh, that reminds me. I saw
Not
Miss
now,
Lewis.
Mrs. Stone. We'll talk after assembly.
Of course. Oh, I completely forgot to ask.
By the way, if he turns up, his name's Sims.
Whose name is Sims? So it's going to be one of those terms.
Apparently it all happened during the holidays. Hadn't you heard anything? Well, I only heard it from Mrs. Wilberforce a couple of weeks ago. She said she'd seen Mr. Beeson during the holiday, and that's what he told her.
I must say, I was wondering where he was. It's not like him to be late.
Excuse me, Mr. Long.
Sorry, Mrs. Rudd.
All the same, I'm a bit surprised. I mean,
Well,
I thought
it
was
happens,
really
of course.
Is this your new mug, Mrs. Patterson?
Yes, I picked it up when I was in Crete.
What a pretty design.
Well, yes, I thought so. We came across this little pottery on the north of the island.
Pretty. Yes, we had a Greek meal on the last night of the summer music school.
Oh, did you?
Very oily, of course. Not really to my taste.
Oh, I adore
But the
Greek
week itself, oh, I can't begin to tell you, devoted entirely to choral singing, with particular emphasis on 16th century church music.
Sounds
It was an inspiration, Mrs. Patterson. Truly inspirational. Mr. Rudd was quite overwhelmed.
Really?
I don't know how conversant you are with the works of Thomas Tallis, but his Speminalium had to be heard to be believed.
All right, everyone, as you were. Now, if you could all find a seat or something to lean against. Thank you. First of all, welcome back to those of you I haven't yet said hello to. I hope you all had a good long holiday and feel suitably refreshed to face the rigours of the new school year. I won't keep you long. But there are 2 items of news I want to pass on before we go into
What
battle.
about Mr. Brown?
You're anticipating me, Mr. Long.
Sorry.
You will all have noticed that Mr. Brown is not with us this morning. Well, I'm sorry to tell you that he will not be with us at all.
Really?
You may or you may not know that he was offered a job at Milford at the end of last term, and I thought he was going to decide against it, but, well, he finally took up their offer. Yes, I know. We're all disappointed, but that's the way it goes. We can't blame him. I don't have to tell you Milford's in a better catchment area. They have better equipment, more money. In fact, it offers a better career prospect all round.
It's not a better school.
No.
I'm surprised County Hall approved the move at such
Well,
a late
as
stage.
I said, Milford wanted Mr. Brown. And they have got 2 parents on the education committee.
No more.
However, that's all water under the bridge now.
Do we know who will be replacing Mr. Brown?
We have a supply teacher coming in for the term.
One of our regulars.
No, I'm afraid not. No one could manage the whole term. They've given us a chap called Philip Sims.
When's he coming?
A good question, Mr. Long. I expected him to be here by now. Hopefully, we'll see him before the end of the day.
Does that mean we've got to double up classes till he comes?
Oh, it'll be murder.
No, I shall ask everyone with a free period to give it up to take Mr. Brown's class, at least for today. Sorry, if it helps, I'll take the first shift, all right?
Big deal.
Now, my second item of news concerns the Chief Education Officer. Now, as you all know, our last Supremo retired at the end of last term.
Hooray!
Not before time.
Yes, I know. General sigh's a relief all round.
To anyone concerned with education.
But our new CEO is a Mr. Hesketh, and you'll no doubt be pleased to hear that he's heard all about us.
Us here at King Street.
Oh, yes, apparently he's very impressed with our reputation as a successful, multiracial, multicultural, multi-everything school.
Nice to be appreciated.
Furthermore, to celebrate his appointment, he's going to give us a big treat. He's coming here to visit the school.
Great.
And that's the good news.
I thought there'd be a cat.
The bad news is he's coming tomorrow at 11 o'clock.
That's a bit...
I know. Yes, I've been through all this with County Hall.
Good morning.
And
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I interrupting something?
what is it?
Well, I'm looking for Mr. Beeston. Is he here?
I'm Mr. Beeston.
Oh, hello there. Your secretary said I'd find you here.
Did she?
Yeah, I got lost wandering round your corridors. Bit of a maze, aren't they?
Well, actually, we're in the middle of a staff meeting.
Oh, well, I've just got here in time then. Oh, I'm Sims. Philip Sims.
Ladies and gentlemen, I do believe Maffikin has been relieved. Okay, everyone, action stations. I see you all in assembly.
Right, here we go.
That's you, Mr. Sims. Welcome to King Street Junior.
Thanks.
If you'll come with me, I think it's just time to show you your classroom.
35, 36, 37, 38. Good.
Well, that's the first staff meeting over. First assembly wrapped up without incident. Teachers and pupils all present and correct.
That makes a change.
Yes, and so the educational process grinds back into action slowly but surely.
Fingers crossed.
That the dinner money?
Yes, I was just double-checking it. I can't believe it's balanced so easily on the first day back.
Oh, don't worry. By next Monday, you'll be tearing your hair out over it.
I'm sure I will. How did you get on with Mr. Sims?
Oh, all right, I think. I looked in on his class just now. They haven't lynched him yet, so there's hope.
He seems a cheerful sort of character.
Yes, he is, considering.
Considering what?
Well, he's taught before. He's done all his supply work in high schools.
Oh, I didn't know.
Mainly at St James's and the Manor.
The Manor? That's a tough school.
Yes, that's what I mean. If he survives that and remains cheerful, he should be able to cope with anything we can throw at him.
Yeah, but it doesn't really qualify him to work in a junior school, though.
Oh, come on, Mrs. Stone. You surely aren't questioning the current policy of employment in teaching, are you?
But it doesn't, does it?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, what could be more efficient than to take an A-level metalwork teacher and stick him in a nursery class teaching reading?
Well, it's not as bad as all that.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder.
Look, I'm going to make a cup of coffee. Would you like one?
Oh, I wouldn't mind.
Have you spoken to his old heads?
A couple. They were quite complimentary, but then they would be, wouldn't they?
Good heavens.
What?
Well, out on the street is... This is Mr. Sims.
Well, don't tell me he's walked out already.
But he has his class with him.
What? Oh, he can't do that. Where are they going?
Well, how should I know?
Oh, that's all we need, a mass kidnapper. I better get after him and find out what's going on.
Now, what I want you to do is to imagine that you're one of those birds flying up there. Yeah? Now, you're going over these rooftops here. Look at these rooftops. I want you to remember them, because they're all different. And the shops, and the houses.
Including that one that's falling down.
Well, especially that one. See, it's got no roof, has it?
Mr. Sims? Mr. Sims?
Hello, Mr. Beeston. You out as well?
Well, I hadn't intended to be.
Well, we were just about ready to go back in.
Oh, good.
We've been out soaking up the atmosphere, you know, for creative writing.
Have you? Well, can you come and see me at break time?
Morning break, you mean?
Yes, morning break. It's in a few minutes. There are a few pointers I need to go over with you.
Oh,
Here,
certainly.
look, that's my ass.
Well, shit, look, we don't want to upset the people, do we? Right, now, let's get back to school.
There's always something unreal about it, isn't there?
First day back?
Yes.
I always feel as though I've never been away.
What's your new class like?
Oh, they're sweet. They all sit and look up at me like little rows of glove puppets.
Mr. Long, I wish to speak to you.
By all means, Mrs. Rudd.
I have just discovered that you have taken over the football team from Mr. Holiday this year.
Not strictly true, no.
Oh,
It's,
so it appears that I have been misinformed.
No, I haven't taken it over, but I will be helping out with the practices at lunchtime.
Ah.
Yeah. Anyway, what's wrong with that?
3 members of my choir inform me that they will be unable to come to lunchtime choir practice this year because they will be playing football with you.
Right, who's that?
Azam Mazar, Paul Bowes, and Omar Latif.
Yes, that's right. They're our new midfield.
I don't care what field they are. I need them in the choir this year. I have great hopes for them.
So have we, in the football
Well,
team.
they can't be in two places at once.
Go and sit down, shall we? See if we can sort something out.
I think the choir
Because,
should
you
surely
see-
have first claim on
No,
them,
no.
Mr. Long.
They aren't at it again, are they?
Oh, I know. It's like a serial, isn't it?
I haven't seen the new teacher in here. Don't tell me he's got playground duty already.
No, Fred's caught that one. Mr. Sims has been called in to the presence.
No guesses why.
What do you mean?
I expect Mr. Beeston wants to fill him in on his colleagues at King Street.
Oh, you could be right.
You want to bet?
No, thank you. Anyway, how was your holiday?
Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah?
I went to Crete, you know, and it was so incredibly hot, I nearly melted.
So, Mr. Sims, what on earth were you doing out there in the street with your class?
Well, it was inspiration for creative writing. I wanted them to look at the sky.
Well, they could have looked at it equally well from your classroom windows.
No, it's not the same.
But it is, Mr. Sims. It's the same sky, all grey, with little bits of rain falling out of it.
Yes, but it's not the same feeling. I wanted them to look at it in relation to the buildings in this area.
But these aren't high school children. They're younger. I mean, you need permission to take them out. I mean, what if one of them had gone out into the road and been run over?
I had a careful watch on them the whole of the time.
I couldn't care less if you had reins on them. You cannot take junior children out of school in school hours without first getting permission.
Well, who do I get that from?
Well, from me, of course. I'm the headmaster here. And in turn, I have to get written consent from the parents.
They could still get run over.
But the difference is they'll be able to get run over officially. Now, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, of course, and I'm sorry I didn't know the rules.
Well, I'm glad we cleared that up. Apart from that, how are you getting on?
Great. Yeah, they're a really nice class.
I imagine they must seem a bit small to you after high school.
Yes.
When I see these alleged children coming out of the high school gates, it's like watching a parade of basketball players.
Oh, I don't know. Kids are kids, aren't they? It depends on how you treat them.
True. It's just that I would find it difficult to tell someone off when they're towering 3 feet above me. That's another thing, Mr. Sims. There's no peace at junior schools for the headmaster. Quite unlike high schools, where they're only seen on ceremonial occasions. Come in.
Please, Mr. Beeston.
Yes, Maria.
Mrs. Stone isn't there, so I came to tell you.
Yes.
I went to the staff room to tell Mr. Holliday, but Mrs. Wilberforce told me to go away unless it was urgent, and I didn't know if it was urgent.
Yes, Maria, what is it?
There's a mouse loose in Mr. Holliday's class.
A mouse?
I didn't know if it was urgent.
Oh, what kind of mouse?
Well, it was just a mouse.
Well, what colour was it?
Oh, it's a white mouse.
Yes, all right, Maria. Let's go to the staff room and find Mr. Holliday. Are you any good at catching mice, Mr. Sims? But how did it get out of its cage?
I told you.
No, you didn't. All you said was that Ganesh in your class brought it in to show everybody. Pass the salt, will you?
Here.
Thanks.
Two of them asked me if they could stay in at break to make sure it was all right. And obviously one of them had opened the cage door to take a better look at it. And it just took off.
You shouldn't have left them unsupervised.
I know. I'm getting too soft. That's my trouble.
There's still no sign of it?
Not at the last count, no. I mean, it could be anywhere.
Well, let's hope it didn't find its way to the kitchens. We might be eating it.
Please, you have to.
Oh, I don't know. Mrs. Perky still hasn't learned how to cook, has she? I didn't think anyone could ruin chips.
What have you got there, Mr. Sims?
Do you know, I'm not sure. I told her I was a vegetarian, so she pointed to this stuff. I think it's lentil something.
Another vegetarian, eh?
Have I got company?
Yes, I'm the other one. You know, we're definitely spreading.
We'll take over one day, Miss Lewis.
I'm sure we will.
The way Mrs. Perkins cooks meat, I think we'll all end up vegetarian, whether we like it or not.
The way she cooks lentils, I wouldn't rush into it.
Have you heard about this mouse running loose?
What, in school?
Yes, I was there when it was reported. It got out of its cage in Mr. Holliday's class and nobody can find it.
I hope they catch it soon, or there'll be an uproar. Nobody will be concentrating on lessons. They'll all be watching out for the mouse.
It'll probably make a surprise appearance during the Chief Education Officer's visit tomorrow. Our second day back. And we'll be closed down as a health risk.
I think someone's found the mouse.
All right. Calm down, everybody, and watch where you put your feet. You hear me, Mohammed? Don't tread on it.
I I have always known that my music is very low on your list of priorities, the way you always denigrate it.
Not true, Mrs. Rudd.
But surely the reputation that the choir has built up is important to the school.
I'm not saying it isn't.
I'm pleased you admit it.
But it shouldn't be beyond the bounds of possibility to discover some way in which 3 boys can play football and sing in the choir.
Perhaps you're suggesting they run and sing at the same time.
Of course I'm not. I'm talking about doing the 2 different things on 2 different days.
I have already discussed that with Mr. Long, and he totally refused to cooperate.
Oh?
When I suggested he move his football practice to another day, he said it was impossible.
Then why don't you move your choir practice to another day?
Out of the question.
Why?
We have always had choir practice on Tuesdays. The children both expect it and are used to it.
Couldn't they possibly just get used to a different day?
You see, there you go, taking his side again. Music will always come second with you.
I'm not taking his side. I'm just making a perfectly reasonable suggestion.
Oh, look at the time. I have Mr. Marchand's class in 10 minutes, but I shall not let this matter drop. There is a principle at stake here. I will see you after school.
Not if I see you first.
Oh, you wanted the forms on the new children.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Stone.
And what have you done to upset Mrs. Rudd so early in the term?
I don't have to do anything. It just happens, like toothache. Honestly, one day back, and it's as if we were never away.
I thought this morning was too good to be true.
And now there's a rogue mouse rampaging all over the school.
But wasn't it found in the dining hall at lunchtime?
No, some stupid child slipped on some spilt gravy.
Oh, no.
That was quite amazing, really. I can't think how he slipped. With Mrs. Perkis's gravy, I'd have thought he'd been well and truly stuck to the floor. However, the loose mouse got the blame.
No one's seen it.
No. Though we've had plenty of reported sightings.
Yes, I can imagine.
In every classroom, of course. Cloakrooms, toilets. Do you know, one kid said he'd seen it peeping out of the exhaust pipe of Mrs. Patterson's car.
Oh, it's a shame. And the child it belongs to, he must be very upset.
Not half as upset as I be if he leaps out and savages the chief education officer tomorrow. What's the time?
2:30.
Oh, I think I'll go over and see how Sims is getting on. I could pop into Fred's class on the way and check on the search for the missing mouse.
Who'd be headmaster?
Well, I've got to do something about that mouse today.
You're not going to do anything nasty.
What do you mean, nasty?
Well, you're not thinking of putting down poison.
Now, that's a thought.
You can't. I won't let you.
All right. We'll have to go for the second option.
What's that?
Look up David Attenborough's telephone number and see if he's free to call round this afternoon. Well, Mr. Oh, what the... He's gone again. I do not believe it. Where the devil has he taken him this time?
Right. So when you've counted them, write them down. That classroom there, 4 windows. And that room there in the library have got 3 windows.
Ah, there you are, Mr. Sims.
Oh, hello, Mr. Beeston.
What on earth are you doing out here?
We're counting windows, Mr. Beeston.
Ah, counting windows. Oh, I see. What for?
Well, it's for tomorrow's maths lesson.
It won't half be good, sir.
Maths?
Yes, we're doing fractions, percentages and proportions. So what we're doing now is counting the windows in each classroom. Then tomorrow we'll work out the numbers of windows per classroom in relation to each other and as a whole.
Oh, I see.
It's all right, us being out
Oh,
here.
yes.
Yeah, because I didn't think I needed to tell you as we weren't leaving the school.
No.
And we'll only be out here for about 10 minutes. We're just doing a sample of the classrooms on this side of the building.
Oh, good.
See, that way they can work out how many windows are on the other side of the building as well. So it also brings in symmetry.
My gran was buried in a cemetery.
Was she? Well, this all sounds very interesting, Mr. Sims.
Well, I'm glad you approve.
There's just one point.
Yes?
You won't be conducting any extramural studies when the chief education officer comes tomorrow, will you? I mean, the geography of paving stones or anything like that.
Hey, what a great idea.
Yes, you will be in your classroom tomorrow.
Yes, we've done all the outside research we need.
Sir?
Yes, Sheena?
Look, on that ledge there.
It's the mouse.
Now, shh! Now, look, we don't want to frighten him, do we?
I wonder how he got up there. Do, sir.
Stay there and be quiet.
Quiet, Ranjit.
Right? No.
There, gotcha.
He's coming.
Ah, here we are, young
Bravo,
fella.
Mr. Sims, well done.
Shh, here, now, quiet, not so loud, he's very frightened. I wonder, would you mind, Mr. Beeston? We ought to get him back to his own.
Oh, you go ahead. I'll see the children back to the classroom.
You never know, there might be a reward.
And I saw him first, Mr. Sims.
I ask you, Fred, I mean, walking around the school counting windows... I reckon they sent us a lunatic.
Well, I think it's a good idea. Practical maths. Best way to teach it to their age.
I know all that, but twice in one day. Do you reckon he suffers from claustrophobia?
No. He's all right.
Well, you're only taking his side because he caught your mouse.
Oh, thank heavens he did. Good man.
But that's twice in one day. He was out. I mean, he's got a whole term's contract. God knows where he'll end up with him. We could find him in the depths of winter trudging around in the snow with 30 kids in tow. It'd be like Napoleon's retreat from Moscow.
Be fair. From what I saw, he was only out in the playground for about 10 minutes.
Well, just as long as he doesn't start wandering around tomorrow when the chief education officer arrives.
You had a word with him?
Oh, what do you think?
And?
He said he wouldn't.
Well, then.
Well, Neville Chamberlain said there wasn't going to be a war. Right, very well sung. Very good indeed. Now sit down.
Quietly now. Quietly.
Now, yesterday I was talking to you all about how we here at King Street are all part of a big happy family. Well, as you know, in every family home you sometimes have visitors. Now, some people come to stay, like friends, and some come to do a job, like the man from the gas board or the electricity board, or it might be the plumber. I mean, people like that. They sometimes get in the way, but your mum or dad says, now, while the plumber's here, I want you to show him what a good child you are. Now, today, we have a visitor coming to King Street. It won't be the plumber, but he is a very important man indeed.
I love the idea of him equating the chief education officer with the plumber.
Oh, that's nothing. You should hear him explaining a concept like heaven to the small ones.
That's right. He equates it with an eternal sweet shop.
Your soul gets saved, but your teeth rot.
Hey, I wonder what this new education officer's like.
We've no one to compare him with, have we?
True.
We never saw the last one all the time he was in office.
He used to come to the high schools.
Did he?
Yes. I was on supply at 2 schools he visited in the space of a month. Actually, when I was at Millbrook, I could see him looking at me. Well, staring, really. Something seemed to be worrying him. Anyway, in the end, he came up and asked me if I had a twin brother teaching at the manor. You should have seen his face.
Like this, Mr. Holliday. These boys have lovely treble voices. They are essential for the choir.
So you keep telling me.
We can't afford to release them, Fred. We need them for football practice.
I don't know what we can do. It's stalemate, isn't it?
You're in charge of the timetable.
Ah, but what happens at lunchtime has nothing to do with the timetable. It's voluntary.
It's your football team.
Aha!
What do you mean, aha?
Look, you've got to see Mr. Beeston about this. Let him decide.
I have already done that.
So have I.
And?
Sits on the fence as usual. The man is quite hopeless.
Right, everyone. Can I have your attention, please? I just came to remind you that the time is now 10:40. Mr. Hesketh is due at 11 o'clock, so when you go back to your classes in 5 minutes, please make sure that all your kids are doing something that looks educational.
Yeah, right.
And try to get all those with known dodgy bladders toileted by 10 to 11.
Mass exodus.
If Mr. Hesketh should happen to speak to you...
Highly unlikely.
They never do.
I know, but if he does, would you all remember to stress that the good work we're doing here could be even better with the injection of more money?
Well, it could. It could.
And,
Miss Beeston.
hold it, everyone. Yes, Mrs. Stone.
He's here.
What, Mr. Hesketh?
Yes, he's in the office. I've made him a coffee.
He's early, isn't he?
I'll be along in a second.
I'll tell him.
OK, everyone, cups away.
All right.
And remember, whatever he says, please look as though you're interested.
Now, I want us all to be ready when he comes, so when the door opens, I shall, of course, greet our visitor. Then straight away play the introduction to your song.
And this is our music room.
Ah, yes.
Mr. Hesketh, Mrs. Rudd, King Street's musical genius.
Oh, how do you do, Mr. Hesketh?
Delighted to meet you, Mrs. Rudd.
Right, children.
No, Mrs. Rudd, no, please.
Yes?
Sorry to interrupt, but this is just a flying visit.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
but the children have rehearsed a special song.
Well, another time, perhaps. eh?
Always our problem, isn't it? So much to do, so little time.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Rudd.
Charming, charming. Well, keep up the good work, Mrs. Rudd.
Yes, I will.
Thank you, Mrs. Rudd. And Mrs. Rudd is a great enthusiast. She's developed the musical talent at the school no end.
Good, good.
We could do so much more, of course, if only we had better and newer musical instruments.
Yeah.
Now, this is our school hall, which doubles as our gymnasium. It's the same story here, I'm afraid. We're desperately short of equipment.
Who isn't these days? We live in a hard, practical world, Mr. Beeston.
Thank you very much, Miss Lewis.
They're so charming, aren't they, when they're at that age?
Miss Lewis or the children?
Very droll.
Yes, well, I think you've seen everybody now. I'm sorry it's been such a whistle-stop tour.
Oh, please don't apologise. I'm sorry time was so short. I have so many other appointments to fit in today.
Yes, absolutely.
But I must say I'm very impressed. Very impressed indeed.
Oh, good.
I particularly like that young chap with the windows.
With the windows?
He was using the numbers of windows in a classroom to teach fractions.
Oh, Mr. Sims.
Yes, a teacher like that when I was at school, and I might have been better at maths than I am now.
Oh, yes. Well, we always encourage that sort of new, fresh approach here at King Street, where it's appropriate, of course. Education for life, from life.
Yes, indeed. Excellent. Goodness me, look at the time. I'm due for lunch at St. James's at 12:30.
Oh, it's a pity you couldn't have joined us for lunch here. Our Mrs. Perkis's cooking is quite an experience in itself.
Well, another time, perhaps.
I hope so. Well, I'll walk you to a car.
Making sure I leave the premises, eh?
Well, what did he say then?
Who, Hesketh?
Yes.
He thought we were wonderful.
Oh, he would, wouldn't he?
Well, I don't know. Mind, I hope I didn't overdo the Oliver Twist bit.
What do you mean?
Well, everywhere we went, I kept pointing out how much we needed more money to make this better and that better. I mean, you name it, I asked for more money for it. Halfway through, it occurred to me he might think we were so badly off, he'd better close us down before the building collapsed.
Oh, I wouldn't think so. He seemed happy enough when I saw him. Not that he said much, of course, apart from, hello, keep up the good work, goodbye.
You, didn't mention early retirement, I suppose?
I decided against it.
Oh, just as well. Otherwise, he'd definitely have closed us down. Come in. Ah, Mr. Sims.
You wanted to see me, Mr. Beeston?
Yes, I just wanted to say well done.
Oh?
Yes, the windows survey. You may be interested to know it went down very well with the Chief Education Officer.
Oh, good. Because your point about the paving stones and geography made me think.
Later, Mr. Sims.
Oh, right.
I should keep them in the classroom for a bit. I mean, if they get too much of a taste for freedom, we may never see them again.
Right. Well, anyway, if you'll excuse me, I'll better be off. I'm on dinner duty.
Ah, he's a good man, that.
I told you that yesterday.
Did you?
You know very well I did. And now the Chief Education Officer has confirmed my opinion.
Your opinion?
Yes, my opinion.
Are you trying to imply that I can't recognise a good teacher when I see
I
one?
must speak to him now.
No, you don't. Talking of good teachers.
What, those two?
You employed them. I'll leave you to it.
I'll kill you, Fred Holiday.
Ah, Mr. Beeston.
Yes, Mrs. Rudd. Mr. Long. What seems to be the problem?
You've been listening to King Street Junior by Jim Eldridge, and starring Karl Howman as Philip Sims and James Grout as Mr. Beeston, the headmaster. Tom Watson featured as Mr. Holiday, the deputy head, Margaret John as Mrs. Stone, school secretary, Vivian Martin as Mrs. Rudd, Paul Copley as Mr. Long, Marlene Sidaway as Miss Lewis, and Deirdre Costello as Mrs. Patterson. Mr. Hesketh, the chief education officer, was played by John Baddeley, Maria by Samantha Cahill, Ranjit by Alex Sexton, and Janine by Victoria Ludlow. The producer was John Fawcett Wilson. We present King Street Junior by Jim Eldridge, starring Karl Howman as Philip Sims and James Grout as Mr. Beeston, the headmaster.
And that's the story we're all led to believe, but it's not the real truth.
Hold on a minute.
You want sugar?
Yes, just one spoon. Let me get this straight, Sims.
Yes?
You're saying that Guy Fawkes was framed.
Right. King James needed to turn the people against the Catholics for political reasons, and this was the perfect way to do it.
Happens all the time, doesn't it?
Don't you stick your oar in. I'm having enough trouble with Sims here.
Hitler did exactly the same with the Reichstag fire.
Fred remembers that, don't you, Fred?
Oh, he got his own people to set fire to it, got a suitable scapegoat and a fake confession, thus putting the blame on the Jews and the communists.
Yes, I know that, but that was different, wasn't it?
How was it
Well,
different?
that was Hitler's Germany. He's talking about English history here.
Well, what makes us so different?
Oh, a great deal, I'd have thought.
Yes, I'm not arguing against that. I'm talking about political expediency. And Guy Fawkes was the victim of a government conspiracy.
That's right.
So, according to you, history as it's been taught in schools for hundreds of years is a pack of lies.
No, of course it isn't.
Oh, I'm grateful for that, thank you.
But the books have been cooked. It has happened.
Excuse me, Mr. Sims.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Rowe.
Look at Russia after the revolution.
That's right. Yeah. Official Soviet history books were rewritten to suit the new government.
But that's Russia.
Yes, but all governments have done it for one reason or another.
The milk, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, yes, look, here you are.
Thank you.
They still do it today, Fred.
They always will. I don't care who or what they are, but they will adjust the facts when expedient to maintain power.
Look at Mr. Beeston.
I have no desire to intrude on your fascinating discussion, but would you continue it somewhere else and not hog the tea-making area?
We're sorry, we're very
Guy
sorry.
Fawkes, Mrs. Riley, he started
go over
it.
there, shall we?
I say, Sims, you're sure you're not some kind of subversive?
I only want to get the truth.
What's all that about?
Guy Fawkes, apparently.
Oh.
Are you having tea?
Yes, thanks.
In my opinion, that man has a lot to answer for.
Oh, I don't know. I think bonfire night's a lot of fun. Well, the children enjoy it, don't they? Quite apart from the grown-ups.
I don't enjoy it, Mrs. Patterson. In fact, I consider it a positive menace. When one thinks of all those needless accidents, often caused by sheer irresponsibility.
Well, yes, I know, but if it's in a controlled situation...
There is no such thing as a controlled situation where fireworks are concerned.
Oh, I don't
I can tell you, last year on the morning after bonfire night, my husband and I went into the garden and we counted as many as 7 expired rockets on our lawn.
Well, you can't say where a rocket's going to fall, can you?
But that is my point. There is no such thing as a controlled situation.
But I'm not just
Excuse
talking...
me.
What is it?
Me tea. I forgot it in all the excitement.
Really? You were about to say, Mrs. Patterson.
Well, I wasn't just talking about rockets.
Rockets are fireworks, and fireworks are dangerous.
Well...
And it's high time something was done about them.
Well, I see the 5th of November is having its usual effect on the staff room.
Oh, yes.
Confrontation and argument, as always.
It's not just fireworks, is it?
No?
I reckon you could bring up any subject under the sun, and there'd be someone in this staff room who'd argue about it.
Oh, come on, it's not that bad.
Oh, of course it is.
No, I don't think so.
Well, if you'd heard Fred Holliday and Mr. Sims just now, they were going at it hammer and tongs.
I did. It seemed like a perfectly reasonable discussion to me.
You see?
See what?
You're beginning to argue about it.
Oh, shut up.
Oh, hell, that one just made me tea.
Oh, you last out the afternoon.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, you shouldn't spend so much time trying to start an argument, should you?
Yeah, have you heard? Heard what? Someone set fire to the school last night. Did they? Yeah, they burnt half of it down. You're joking. Now, all the streets around are full of fire engines. I'd like to have seen that. I know, it must have been fantastic.
Well, I'm only repeating what I heard.
Me too.
You shouldn't believe everything you hear.
Some parents assume there'd be no school today.
Look, please, everyone. I shouldn't have to remind you that children are given to exaggeration. As you've seen for yourselves, the main school was completely untouched by the fire. It's only affected Mr. Long's hut.
Only?
Well, it could have been a lot worse.
That's true.
But
It
I
could
mean-
have been burnt to the ground.
Charming.
Most of it's still standing, isn't it?
So you'd be happy to teach in it, would you?
Ah, now I didn't say
All right. Calm down.
Well, I mean...
the plain fact is that Mr. Long's hut's been badly damaged by fire and will clearly be out of action for some time.
It'll need replacing.
Well, I should think so.
And as soon as possible.
Indeed.
What are you going to do with his class?
Well, they'll have to make do with the library until we can get something else sorted out.
It's impossible to try and teach in the library.
Well, I'm sorry, but it's the only available room at the
It is
moment.
an emergency,
Well,
Long.
I'm sure everyone will do their best to cooperate. Yes. And,
How did the fire start? Does anyone know?
well, as you've seen, the fire brigade and the police are going through the remains at the moment to try to establish the cause.
Fireworks!
I beg your pardon, Mrs. Rudd?
It was caused by fireworks in the hands of irresponsible children. I
Well,
should
we
have thought it was obvious. I was just telling
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson yesterday.
Yes, you could be right.
I
suppose.
know I am right.
But let's leave it to the experts, shall we? Oh, by the way, I imagine the police may want to talk to some of you, so it may save their time as well as yours if you can try to remember what you were doing after school yesterday. Do we know who was last out of school?
Oh, well, I think it might have been me. Mine was the last car in the car park.
Well, that's useful to know.
Though I don't remember seeing anything suspicious.
Right, well, incidentally, as we're coming up to assembly, I shall make an announcement about Mr. Long's hut to lead into a short homily about the danger of fireworks.
Closing the stable door, I think, Mr. Beeston.
Oh, do you really? Well, as I said, I prefer not to jump to any conclusions until we have the result of the forensic investigation.
Absolutely correct.
Right, there she blows. Oh, before I forget, a reminder. All those of you who have kids with feet, foot inspection starts today, so it's gas masks on and be prepared for interruptions.
Pleased to remind me. With this fire business, I'd have forgotten all about it.
All right, everyone, sit down.
Quieten down now.
Now, I'm sure most of you will have noticed that we are a hut short today, and that is because there was a fire here at school last night, and Mr. Long's hut was badly burnt. Now, we don't know how it started, but today you will see policemen and firemen looking at Mr. Long's hut, and they're trying to find out what happened. And I want you all to keep away from the hut so that the policemen and the firemen can get on with their work. Now, it has been suggested that the fire may have been started by some silly person playing with fireworks. So today, I want to talk to you about the dangers of fireworks. Now, fireworks may seem to many of you to be a lot of fun, and they are.
Yes, I know it's your money that pays the rates, and it does seem rather ridiculous. Yes. Yes, I think you should write to County Hall as you feel so strongly about it. But I will tell Mr. Beeston. Right, thank you. Come in. Hello, can I help you?
I hope so. Nurse Jones from County Health Department.
Oh, yes, you've come to look at the feet.
I thought I should see Mr. Beeston first.
Well, he's out in the playground with the police and the fire brigade at the moment.
Oh?
Oh, of course you wouldn't know. One of our classrooms was burnt down last night.
Oh, I thought there was a funny smell as I came in the gate. But you can't tell with a cold, can you?
No. Look, he might be some time yet, and we don't want to keep you hanging
I'd
about.
like to make a start as soon as possible.
I'm sure. So if you'll give me a moment, I'll find a child to take you along to Miss Lewis's class.
Well then, Mr. Arnott, how's it all going?
Oh, hello there. Not too bad, I think. We're getting there slowly.
Makes a bit of clearing up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it always does. It's a messy business.
This is my deputy head, Mr. Holliday. Detective Constable Arnott.
How'd you do?
Hello. Are you anywhere near to what started it yet?
Arson.
Oh, really?
Are you sure?
Well, as sure as we can be after a first look. It fits a pattern as well.
Really?
Yes, we've had fires at a few schools in this area just recently.
I've heard nothing about them.
No, well, you wouldn't. They didn't amount to anything. Not as bad as this one.
Any idea who started it?
Not a clue. Actually, on that, I'd quite like to talk with your staff, if it isn't going to mess up your school routine too much.
Please do, Mr. Arnott. I'm sure you'll find them very cooperative.
Well, you never know. They might be able to give me some sort of lead.
Ah, in what way?
Well, I don't know, but if you're grasping at straws, any old haystack will do.
Well, if you want an old haystack, you could start with Mrs. Rudd. Hey, Fred?
Ah, Mr. Beeston.
Oh, my God.
I was just passing through the playground and I thought I would come and see what progress was being made, if any.
This is Mrs. Rudd, our music teacher.
Detective Constable Arnott.
And what have you discovered so far, Detective Constable?
Mr. Arnott thinks it's arson.
Arson?
It looks very much like...
But that's impossible, it can't be.
Mr. Arnott knows what he's doing, Mr.
Well, of course, but I'm sure you must have overlooked something.
What do you mean,
Haven't you
exactly?
discovered the burnt-out remains of a rocket, or one of those nasty banger things, or some kind of firework?
No.
Because that's what caused the fire, Detective Constable. You can depend on it.
Well, I suppose we shouldn't rule it out.
Indeed not. And you will keep looking.
Oh, yes, we haven't finished yet.
I think that's what you'll find is responsible. Fireworks. Nasty things. Oh, and as I'm sure you want a further word with me, I shall be in the music room all day.
Thank you, I'll remember that.
Mr. Beeston will tell you where to find me.
No, he won't. Thank you so much, Mrs. Rudd.
Now you know, Mr. Arnott.
Well, at least she's trying to be helpful.
If only she didn't try so hard. Still, I've been thinking. You should see Mr. Sims. What do you think, Fred?
Well, he was the last one to leave school last night.
Ah, sounds like a good idea. Where will I find
He
him?
was in the staff room a few moments ago, talking to Long.
Perhaps if you jog his memory a bit, he might come up with something that'll help.
It's worth a try.
Right, you come with me and I'll take you to the staff room.
You wouldn't believe it. When Arnold took his shoes off, God, the smell, I can't tell you.
Oh, please.
But it was incredible. I was over by the blackboard,
Look, give it a rest. I'm fed up this sudden obsession with feet.
I'm only just telling you what happened when the nurse came into my class.
I know what happens.
Well, it's all new to me.
I've been through more foot inspections than I've had hot dinners, and I haven't even had that today.
I saw you in the dining room.
I know. But Yvonne Patterson kept going on and on about her granny's feet. How many bunions she had to the square centimetre? I couldn't face any food.
Well, I suppose it's only natural talking about it under the circumstances.
What about my hut? Nobody's discussing that. I'd have thought that was a lot more important than feet. But do I get any sympathy from you lot over that? No, I do not.
We do understand.
Oh, yes.
But what can we do?
Well, I don't know. Try a bit harder.
Here you are, Mr. Sims. This is Detective Constable Arnott.
How do you do?
And Mr. Long.
Hello.
Mr. Arnott's investigating the fire and possible causes. He'd like to ask you a few questions, Mr. Sims.
Oh, right.
I've told him you were the last teacher to leave the premises yesterday. And
Well, I can't remember noticing anything out of the ordinary, I'm sorry.
anyway, I'll leave you in their capable hands, Mr. Arnott. And do come and see me if there's anything you require.
Right.
I'll be in my office.
Thank you.
Have you found any clues yet?
Yeah, we're still looking, but we're fairly sure it's arson.
Oh?
We've had an outbreak of fires in other schools in the area. We know they were deliberate, and this one looks the same.
Well, you mean it could be the same people responsible?
I should think that's very likely.
Which of the schools were affected? Are you allowed to say?
Oh, it's no secret. Do you know St. James?
Is that St. James in Hightown?
That's right.
God, good heavens, I used to teach there on supply.
Supply? What's that?
Mr. Sims is a supply teacher. He goes around wherever he's needed.
Yes, at the moment I'm here at King Street on a one-term contract.
I see.
But oddly enough, I was up at St. James's just last week, borrowing some fact sheets from their resources centre.
Do you remember which day?
Well, let me see. Yes, it was Tuesday.
Ah, the fire was reported on the Wednesday.
Oh, well, that accounts for the fact that I didn't know anything about it then.
There were other fires, you said?
Yes, one at Millbrook.
The Catholic school by the roundabout?
Yeah, that's the one. I don't suppose you've been up there recently, have you?
No.
Good.
I did do one day supply teaching there about a year ago.
But you haven't been back there since?
No, though I do pass it every day on the way to and from school. It's usually about 8 in the morning and 4:30 to 5 in the afternoon. Depends if I'm late leaving here.
Well, the fire there was spotted at 5:30.
Ah. Oh, well, I see. You're wondering if I might have noticed something suspicious.
That is a thought, yes.
Well, when was the fire?
2 weeks ago, Thursday the 17th.
The 17th. It's a while ago, isn't it? No, well, I wouldn't like to say.
Tell me, Mr. Sims, where is your classroom in relation to Mr. Long's?
I'm in the main building.
And you've been teaching here, how long is it?
Since the start of the term, about 7 weeks.
Oh, Detective Constable Arnold.
Yes?
A phone call for you at your office.
Right, just give me a second, would you?
I'll tell them you're on your way.
Right, thank you. Mr. Sims, I'd like to pop in and see you later, if I may.
Please do, but I'm teaching all afternoon.
Well, after school, then, if you've got a minute.
Of course, no problem.
Right, I'll see you in here, then.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, this is my fault, Mr.
Just
Oliver.
make some tea.
Right, well, I suppose I'd better rack my brain, see if I can remember anything about the 17th.
Are you serious?
Well, if he wants to see me after school...
I'm not surprised. Fires at 3 schools, and the one common factor to all of them is you. Everywhere you've been, there's been a fire, hasn't there?
Well, surely the police wouldn't think I had anything to do with them.
Are you completely balmy? Look, if this was Juliet Bravo, you'd be under lock and key right now.
Now, we'll go through the song once more, and we'll do it properly this time. David and Lisa will sing the verse, and you all join in when we come to the chorus. Right.
Excuse me, is this Mrs. Wilberforce's class?
Lisa, David, stop. Now, what were you saying?
Is this Mrs. Wilberforce's class?
Yes, it is. Who are you?
I'm the nurse. I've come to examine their feet.
Well, in 20 minutes' time, they will be back with Mrs. Wilberforce in her classroom. You can examine their feet then.
I need to do them now.
That will not be possible. You will have to do them later.
But I'm going through the classes in numerical order, so I can keep a check on who has been done and who hasn't.
And I am in the middle of the most important music lesson, and I must insist that music must take precedence over feet.
I don't know. I'll have to see Mr. Beeston about
If you
this.
feel you must.
He assured me that I would receive the full cooperation of the staff in carrying out the examination.
And so you shall in 20 minutes' time when this music lesson is concluded.
No, I must inspect the children now. I'm sorry.
In 20 minutes' time.
No, now.
Nurse, I have told you in the plainest terms it is not convenient. So will you please leave my classroom?
Very well. But I shall have to report this to County Hall Health Department.
Please do. The name is Rudd. R-U-D-D. Now, children, shall we begin again?
Yes, miss.
From the beginning, Lisa, David, are you ready?
Yes, miss.
Right.
Hello, Mrs. Stone.
I was wondering where you'd got to.
Oh, where do you think?
Surveying the ashes?
Yes.
You looking at it won't put it together again.
I know, it's just, well, I mean, who'd do a thing like that? It's so pointless, isn't it?
Don't ask me. I don't understand the mentality.
Are you busy?
No, I just come to school for a rest.
Oh, that's all right then.
Because I'm busy. I've got this foot woman who's stinking the place out, and there's Long's blazing inferno.
Funnily enough, that's why I want to see you. Could we have a word in private?
Oh, yes, of course. Come into the inner sanctum.
I'll see you're not disturbed.
Right, Fred. What's all this cloak and dagger stuff?
The police think Sims did it.
Did what?
Started the fire.
Started? Oh, come on,
Oh,
Fred.
they do. At least they suspect him.
How do you know?
Pure accident, really. Just overheard Sims and Long talking. No question. Sims is under suspicion.
Oh, do me a favour,
No,
Fred.
I don't know. The other day, Sims was telling me he believes Guy Fawkes was framed.
Well, he was, wasn't he?
Well, that's beside the point. Could be symptomatic.
Of what?
Sympathy for fire raisers and all that.
Oh.
After all, what do we know about him? He's only been here a few weeks.
And he's already plotting to blow up King Street.
Now, it isn't funny. I mean, did you know? Sims has taught at all the other schools where there have been fires.
Well, so have most other supply teachers in this area. That doesn't mean anything.
You make of it what you want, but I thought I'd better let you know. I think he needs what's...
Oh, it's ridiculous, Fred. Sim's an arsonist. I don't believe it.
All right, but don't say I didn't warn you.
I've never been so...
Hello, what's going on out there?
Lord knows.
And this is the sort of attitude that Mr. Beeston wants
on a
me to
minute.
report back to County
What
Hall.
seems to be the problem?
Well, Nurse Jones seems to be having a spot of bother.
It's more than a spot of bother, Mr. Beeston. I was practically thrown out of a classroom.
You were what?
Thrown out, Mr. Beeston.
Well, who did that?
A woman playing the piano. She said her name was Rudd.
Oh, God, it's her. Nurse, in here, quick.
Why?
No questions, just get in.
I will not be fobbed
And
off.
keep quiet. Fred, don't open this door to anyone.
Right.
Mr. Beeston.
Mrs. Rudd.
I have a serious complaint to make.
Not just now.
But I must speak to you.
Please keep your voice down.
What is it?
Couple of parents in my office. They're very disturbed.
He's having a difficult time with them, Mrs. Rudd.
Oh, I see.
I won't forget, I promise, but not just now, please.
Very well, but I must speak to you.
Yes.
And as soon as possible.
Yes, thank you so much, Mrs. Rudd. I'm very grateful.
That is quite all right.
Oh, phew.
That was a close one.
It probably prevented the start of World War III.
With a performance like that, I think you ought to go on the stage.
The bedroom farce, of course.
Of course.
Oh, well, let's see if our unhappy nurse can be placated.
Oi, you lot! Keep away from that hut.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I won't tell you again.
Morning.
You're cutting it a bit fine, aren't you?
Well, I got held up, you know what it's like.
Had to stop off to pick up some firelighters.
That is not funny.
Sorry.
You scared the pants off me after what you said, thinking that detective had me down as suspect number 1.
Did you get it sorted out eventually?
Yeah. Anyway, he said villains don't usually put the rope around their own necks like I was doing.
So you're in the clear?
Thank God, yes. Good. Right, I'm off. Get organised before assembly.
See you later.
Yeah, bye-bye. Right, now I want you to remember, percentage actually means part of 100. And after break, I'll be showing you how we divide something up into 100 parts. Right, break time. Off you go. Come on now, not so much noise.
Yeah, Mr. Sims?
Yes, Rosa?
I heard a rumour about you last night.
Oh, yeah? What sort of rumour?
Well, if I tell you, you promise you won't shout at me?
Well, why would I shout at you?
Because teachers shout when they get angry.
No, they don't. When have you ever heard me shout?
When Gary threw that chalk at Sims.
Yeah, well, all right, but that was just the once, wasn't it?
And there was that time when the leg fell off.
Yes, all right, but it doesn't happen very often.
And you won't shout at me now.
Now, of course I won't. Now, what's this rumour?
Some of the big boys say you set fire to Mr. Long's hut.
I did what?
You said you wouldn't shout.
You're right. No, I won't. Now, who said this?
Some of the big boys.
And where did they get that idea?
They heard Mr. Holliday telling Mr. Beeston about it.
How would they hear that?
They were hiding outside his window.
Whose window?
Mr. Beeston's window. They always do that so they can hear what's going on.
Oh, do they? Right. We'll see about this.
Are you going to shout at someone, Mr. Sims?
It's slander, Mr. Beeston, that's what it is. Nothing less than slander.
Come now, Mr. Sims.
How dare Mr. Holliday accuse me like that?
I told him I didn't believe him.
But the rest of the school does. Everybody thinks I'm some sort of fire raiser.
You're exaggerating.
Oh, no, I'm not. That telegraph service outside your window seen to that.
What are you talking about?
Oh, didn't you know? Some of the older boys sit out there. They listen to everything that goes on in here.
Do they now? The rotten little beggars. Well, there's no one there now.
There was yesterday when Mr. Holliday was accusing me.
He was not accusing you.
Then what was he doing?
He thought I ought to know something he overheard in the staff room.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you were talking to Mr. Long, and apparently you've given the impression to the police that every school you went to there'd been a fire.
So?
Well, Mr. Holliday just thought I should know.
Because he decided, from what he overheard, that I was responsible for the fire here.
I told you I didn't believe him.
I should hope not, because it's not true. But Mr. Holliday shouldn't say things like that. I mean, it's most unethical.
Oh, please, Mr. Sims, don't start on ethics or we'll be here all day. Anyway, there's the bell. Your class will be waiting for you.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Waiting for me to set fire to the blackboard or something.
Oh, give me strength.
Trouble?
No. Just one more ordinary day here at Bedlam.
Pass the ketchup over, will you?
Oh, here you are.
Thanks.
Needs something to drown the taste, doesn't it?
You should have had the curry.
Is there room for a little one?
Oh, here. Have my seat. I'm just going.
Not on my account, I hope.
No, I've had as much as I want, and I'm still trying to get the library sorted out.
Thank you.
Right, I'll see you.
Oh, Mr. Sims, there's room here if you want.
No, thanks. No, I'm sitting with Mrs. Wilberforce.
Please yourself.
He's not talking to me.
Can you blame him?
I don't see why.
Oh, come on.
Well, I don't.
Well, how would you feel if someone spread stories around about you setting fire to the hut?
I didn't spread the stories around.
You started it, didn't you?
All the children are talking about
Whatever I said in confidence.
Oh, in confidence.
This school, you must be joking.
That footwoman refused to talk to me today.
Join the club.
Stupid woman has no consideration.
Oh, she seemed all right to me.
She's just doing her job.
She's typical of those people who think that nothing else matters outside their own small world.
Well, I better be going, I suppose.
You've still got a few minutes.
I want to get ready for the foot nurse. She's doing my class after dinner.
Oh, good luck.
Don't worry. I'll make sure all the windows are open before she arrives.
Here, have you seen who's here? Oh, that copper's back. About the fire. I just saw him walking across the playground. Cole, you reckon he's come to arrest Mr. Sims? You mean get him before school starts? Yeah, when he ain't expecting it. I wonder if they've got other coppers hidden around the back in case he makes a run for it. We ought to go and watch. It'd be just like on telly. Yeah, don't tell no one else though, otherwise they'll see us. Right, I'll just tell Susie and Arnold. Here, Susie, Arnold, David, Maria.
Oh, yes, they finished clearing the rubble yesterday. Now, the problem is, when can I expect a replacement hut? Yes, but it's very inconvenient. What? You aren't serious? What? Yeah, well, yes, of course. I'll be here all day. Thank you very much. Thank you. Goodbye.
Well?
I just do not believe it.
What?
The age of miracles is not past.
Oh, well, don't keep it to yourself.
County Hall is sending someone down today to look over the site. And they'll provide temporary accommodation before the end of the week.
Oh, I'll believe that when I see it.
Stranger things have happened. Yes?
It's Detective Constable Arnott to see you.
Ah, come in, Mr. Arnott.
Any luck with your investigation?
Ah, that's what I came in to tell you. We've nabbed the villains.
Oh, that's good news.
Yes, we took a chance, staked out a couple of likely schools last night. We caught them at Westview High.
Well, who were they?
2 9-year-olds.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so they were doing it for a laugh.
A laugh?
Yeah, right. Some laugh it would have been if someone had died in one of the fires they started.
Were they from around here, do you know?
Well, I don't think they're from your school.
Well, that's some relief, I suppose.
Anyway, that's all I came in to tell you, just to put your minds at rest.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very grateful. I'll pass it on to the staff.
Oh, plus my thanks for their cooperation.
Yes.
And yours, of course.
Yes, don't mention it.
Good morning, Mr. Beeston.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, then.
Thank goodness that's all wrapped up.
With, one exception.
Don't worry. I'll have a word with Sims at the break.
I think you should. Mind you, I think everyone knows you didn't really mean what you said about him.
But he doesn't, does he?
Well, I'll leave it to you. But if you can clear the air with him, it'll make life here a lot easier.
Right. I'll tell you one thing, though.
What's that?
All that stuff he spouts about Guy Fawkes, I still think the man's a potential subversive.
Oh, come on, Fred.
Well...
Personally, I've always had a soft spot for Guy Fawkes.
You?
With the headaches I get from County Hall, government cuts and you lot, I mean, what's that joke? Where are you now, Guy Fawkes, when your country needs you?
I am not amused.
You've been listening to King Street Junior by Jim Eldridge, and starring Karl Howman as Philip Sims and James Grout as Mr. Beeston, the headmaster. Tom Watson featured as Mr. Holliday, the deputy head. Margaret John as Mrs. Stone, school secretary. Paul Copley as Mr. Long. Deirdre Costello as Mrs. Patterson. Marlene Sidaway as Miss Lewis. And Vivian Martin as Mrs. Rudd. The nurse was played by Jill Lidstone. Detective Constable Arnott by Simon Cuff. Raza by Amanda Bittencourt. David by Daniel Perry. And Lisa by Claire Herndon. The producer was John Fawcett Wilson. We present King Street Junior by Jim Eldridge, starring Karl Howman as Philip Sims and James Grout as Mr. Beeston, the headmaster.
King Street Junior? No, I'm afraid not. Mrs. Wilberforce is on playground duty at the moment. Can I take a message?
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. I won't be a minute. Yes? You said downside garage? Her car will be ready to pick up this afternoon. Yes, I'll tell her. Thank you.
What would we do without the King Street message service?
If I had 10 pence for every message I've taken.
I know. Is Mr. Beeston in his office?
No, he's wandering round the school somewhere with Mr. Holliday, I think.
Oh, that's a nuisance. I wanted to catch him during break.
Oh, I'm afraid it'll have to wait. He's going straight off to a meeting at County Hall at 11 o'clock.
All right, I'll see him later.
Well, can I tell him what it's about?
Well, yes, I suppose so. I've got to go into hospital on Monday.
Oh, no.
Oh, don't worry, it's nothing serious.
Still?
It's my big toe. The one I had all the trouble with a couple of years ago.
Of course, I remember.
The doctor said I'd have to have an operation on it, and it's taken this long for the hospital to fit me in.
2 years?
I know.
Oh, it isn't good enough, is it?
I can't really complain. There are others who've waited longer than me.
Oh, and it's come at such an awkward time for you, so near Christmas.
Well, that's why I wanted to see Mr. Beeston. It shouldn't be too difficult getting a supply in.
Oh, don't worry about that.
No, but it's the nativity play.
Yes, of course.
I've done it for so many years now, but someone else will have to take it over this year.
You weren't thinking of Mr. Beeston, were you?
I wouldn't dare.
Actually, I think it'd be very good, but I know what you mean.
Still, I'd like to talk it over with him. He'll know who to ask.
Yeah.
What is it?
Would you mind if I made a suggestion?
Please, all contributions.
What about Mr. Sims? Why not ask him if he's interested?
Do you think so?
I've heard some very good reports of plays that he organised at one of the high schools. I think it was St. James.
Oh?
Yes, it was a neighbour of mine who works there, and she said he did a musical version of Waiting for Godot that was quite remarkable.
Yes, but, I mean, this is only a first-year production with the little ones. It's a far cry from Samuel Beckett.
You can only ask him. But if he would agree to do it, you'd know the play would be in safe hands.
I don't know about you, but I'm nowhere near ready yet.
Well, at least you've made a start, haven't you?
We've got a few decorations up, but that's it so far. Sugar?
No, thanks. I'm trying to give it up.
What, again?
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Still, I've decided. We'll get going on our Santa Claus this afternoon.
Oh, bother.
Mind out, you'll break it. You are not happy, Mrs. Robb.
No, I am not, Mr. Long.
Ah.
I think it's disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful.
What is?
Do you know, I have only just been informed that I will have half Mr. Marchant's class after break. In addition to my own music class, it isn't good enough.
I've got the other half.
Have you?
Well, someone's got to look after them.
Why, he's off sick, isn't he?
Well, that's beside the point, Mrs. Patterson. I had specifically arranged for my class to do quiet listening after break. How can I possibly do quiet listening with 45 children all squirming about, trying to balance on 30 chairs?
Sit them on the floor. That's what I'll do.
I'll have no choice, will I?
There you are, then. Problem solved.
Oh, excuse me. I've just remembered something.
What?
Red crepe paper.
It wouldn't be so bad, but Mr. Marchant's class, they're notorious, aren't they?
What do you mean?
Really, Mr. Long, you must know the most disruptive, ill-disciplined class in the school.
Hey, hang on. That was my class last year. There's nothing wrong with them.
That depends on your standards, doesn't it?
There's nothing wrong with my standards, Mrs. Rudd.
No, I was merely making an observation. Now, if you will excuse me...
Any tea in the pots?
Yes, I think so.
Ah, good.
Hold on, Mrs. Rudd. I haven't finished yet.
Oh, Mr. Sims.
Yes?
Well, I was hoping to catch you before the bell.
And you've succeeded, Miss Lewis.
Yes.
Well then.
Well, I wanted to ask you a favour, if I may.
Well, you name it. We'll see what we can do.
It's a long story, really. I won't bore you with the details.
Would you like a cup of tea?
Oh, no, not at the moment, thanks.
All right.
Look, I've got to go into hospital on Monday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's nothing serious, but the waiting list has thrown up my number and they've called me in.
Oh, and coming up to Christmas as well.
Oh, I should be out in time for Christmas. But the real problem's here at school. You see, I've done the nativity play every year for the last 7 years.
Yes.
And sadly, I won't be here to do it this year.
Oh, that's a pity.
So, what I'm working round to is, well, I was wondering, would you mind taking it on this year?
Me? What, do the nativity play?
I've heard you've done some marvellous plays at high school.
Yes, but they're
Well,
not...
I know this is only the little ones, but they do so enjoy doing it. And they're so enthusiastic.
Say no more, Miss Lewis. I'm your man.
Really? You'll do it?
Of course I will.
Oh, that's wonderful. No, you're sure you don't mind?
Not at all. In fact, it could be quite a challenge. I could really do something with it.
Well, it's very straightforward, you know.
Yes, but perhaps I could try a way of doing it, a bit differently.
Well, you could, I suppose.
I mean, in a school like this where there are more non-Christians than Christians, there's got to be a way of doing it where everyone gets something from it.
Well, everyone seems to have done in the past.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, please, don't get me wrong, Miss Lewis. I'm not criticising.
I'm not a Jonathan Miller.
No, but it was just an idea, to try something a bit different.
Well...
But thanks for asking me. I'm really pleased. Actually, would you mind if I dashed off?
No.
Only I want to get some things sorted out in the classroom before the end of break.
Of course.
Oh, and don't worry, it'll be all right.
I hope so.
You look worried.
No.
He never stops, does he?
Not for long, no.
God knows where he gets the energy. Tires me out just looking at him.
Ah, there you are.
Oh, hello.
Have you had the red crepe paper from the stock cupboard?
Yeah,
Aha.
we're making a big Father Christmas for our wall display. I even thought of putting a mini tape recorder inside his head so that he goes, ho, ho, ho. Here, look, what do you think?
Very nice, but where's the rest of it?
Rest of it? Well, he's all here, look. Cotton wool beard, black paper.
I mean the rest of the red crepe paper. Where did you put it after you'd finished with it? I can't find any in the stock cupboard.
Well, there wasn't any left.
You used all of it?
Only what was left on the roll. I mean, whoever had it before me used all of it.
But there's none left.
Well, that's not my fault.
Well, then whose fault is it, considering that you used it all up?
I did not use all of it. I just used the end of it.
Well, what am I going to do my Santa Claus in?
Well, isn't there another colour you could use?
Oh, yes, there's tons of black.
Well, you could say you got like that coming down the chimney.
You what?
Look, if you ask me, it's the fault of whoever didn't order enough. I mean, they should know everyone uses red crepe paper at Christmas.
Well, I shall raise it at this afternoon's staff meeting, don't you worry. This really makes me mad.
Oh, and a Merry Christmas to you too.
Ah, just the man I
Sorry,
want to see.
Mrs. Stone, no time. I'm late for the staff meeting.
Oh, papers again.
They're all there in the blue file.
Oh, thank you.
And I've got some messages for
Don't
you.
have to wait.
But some of them are very
Blame County Hall. Stupid meetings. It's their fault.
Isn't it always?
I don't want to go on about this, but I think it's most unfair that all the Christmas stock's being used up before everyone's had a chance to share it out.
Point taken, Mrs. Patterson.
Some people are starting to prepare for Christmas earlier and earlier. I shall mention no names.
Oh, go on.
But if we go on like this, they'll start decorating their rooms for Christmas in September and there'll be no stock left at all.
Absolutely right.
I think we ought to have a fairer division of Christmas stock. Stuff like glitter and silver foil.
And red crepe paper.
Haven't you got it?
I have not. There was none left when I went to get some earlier today.
Exactly.
Well, don't look at me. I just had the end of the roll.
All right, everyone, settle down. Now, leave it to me. I'll see if I can squeeze some more out of county supplies.
Thank you.
Now, if we've all had our say on the Christmas decorations, perhaps I can get on to the main reason for this staff meeting. The introduction of the new county-wide tests for 7 and 11-year-olds.
Oh, look, I'd like to raise a point on this, if you don't mind.
Keep it short, Mr. Sims.
Well, isn't this like bringing back the old 11 plus under another name?
And high time, too.
Because if it is, I'm not sure I agree with it.
Absolutely.
All right,
In my
please.
opinion, they're totally
I agree with you, Mr.
Please, will you all quieten down? Thank you. I don't want this meeting to degenerate into a free-for-all about the pros and cons of these tests.
We're going to have to do them, whether we agree with them or not.
Well, that's right, as Fred
I'm
says.
surprised you should bring this subject up anywhere at this time of year with Christmas coming.
I'm sorry,
I mean, there's
Mrs.
so much
Rudd,
to do,
but-
the carol
Mrs.
concert.
Rudd! It's hardly my fault if County Hall choose this particular moment to send out this consultative document, as they like to call it. However, to the main point of this meeting, if I may, without further interruption. County Hall is asking for comments from all teaching staff about implementing these new tests. And they want them by next week.
Oh, great.
So, in order to meet their deadline, I shall need your comments by the end of this week.
Oh,
All right, I'm sorry. Burden you with this extra chore, but that's it, I'm afraid.
I'll give them a few.
Oh, and no rude remarks, please. OK, Mr. Long?
Oh, me?
Sensible comments only on what points should be tested. And that doesn't mean only subjects, it covers levels of ability, understanding, old Uncle Tom Cobley and all.
Well then, recovered our composure, have we?
I think so, just about.
And a cup of tea would go down very well.
You say the nicest things.
I've just filled the kettle. How did the meeting go?
Oh, lively. Not to say a little acrimonious.
Well, what about?
Oh, it's the old story. We've run out of red crepe paper. No prizes for guessing who hasn't got any.
Well, it's annoying to go to the cupboard and find it's all gone.
But they ought to know by now. They've been teaching long enough. The present education system practically invented the Mother Hubbard syndrome.
Oh, don't be so cynical.
Would you do me a favour and get onto county supplies for some more crepe paper?
Well, I'll try, but you know what they're like.
Well, do your best. Anyway, you had some messages for me, you said?
Oh, yes. Actually, one is quite urgent. Did Miss Lewis get a chance to speak to you?
Not likely. As soon as the meeting was over, I was out of there like a rocket. Why? What's her problem?
The nativity play.
Well, that shouldn't be any problem for her. She should do it with her eyes closed.
Yes, but not this year.
Oh, why not?
She's got to go into hospital for an operation on her toe.
What, you mean they finally remembered she was on the waiting list?
Yes.
God, they've taken their time, haven't they? How long ago was it? 3 years?
2.
Still, long enough.
I agree.
I suppose they reckon if they leave people as long as possible, most of them will die off eventually and they won't need the operation.
Oh, that's a terrible thing to say.
Well, it's the way it seems to work sometimes. Anyway, we're getting off the point. I've got to find someone to do the nativity play in place of Miss Lewis.
Well, there's no need. She's already arranged it.
Oh, has she? Good old Miss Lewis. Who's the lucky victim?
Mr. Sims. She asked him and he volunteered.
Good old Sims. That's the sort of teacher I like to have about me.
Well, actually, I'm not so sure about that.
Oh, why not?
Miss Lewis was talking to me about it this lunchtime. She's worried about what Mr. Sims is going to do with the nativity play.
Oh, what do you mean, do with it? There's not a lot you can do with it. Find a bunch of small kids, the ones who can hold sticks are shepherds, stick coloured flower pots on some of the others and call them kings, and hey, presto, Merry Christmas, everybody, and we all go home.
Now, you know it isn't as simple as that.
No, but give or take an angel or a shepherd.
Miss Lewis seems to think he's going to try and do a different version.
Well, there is no different version. It's kings, shepherds, and baby Jesus, and that's it. Oh, no. You don't reckon he's going to try some kind of religious experiment, do you?
What do you mean?
Well, you know, an atheist nativity with no baby Jesus or some similar crackpot thing.
Oh, he wouldn't.
Well, you never know. I mean, some of them these days...
Oh, I don't know.
Honestly, whatever possessed Miss Lewis to pass it on to Sims?
Oh, well...
Yes?
Well, I'm afraid it was my fault. I suggested him.
Well, you should have known better.
Well, I thought he'd be very good.
Beware volunteers, Mrs. Stone. They have a habit of doing things their own way.
But you just said you liked volunteers.
Well, ignore what I just said. I better go and see Sims and see what he's up to.
Oh, he's doing football this afternoon with his and Mr. Long's class.
Oh, right. I'll see him first thing tomorrow.
Well, I haven't got the fine details sorted out yet, but that's the way I'm thinking. See, the whole concept is set in the future. A space-age nativity.
A space-age, I see. But you'll still have an archangel in it, and there will be a baby Jesus.
Oh, yes, except the whole setting will be in the future. See, I thought I'd set it on a remote space station, you know, Jesus sent to save the galaxy.
Yes, well, it's an interesting concept.
Yes, I think the children will really relate to it. I mean, after all, when you think what they watch on the television, Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who...
Yes. Mind, I think it's only fair to warn you that there may be some, mixed reactions, you know, from some of the parents. Not to mention some of the staff.
Oh, I don't think so. Not once everyone's seen it. The message is the important thing, isn't it?
Well, I'm not so sure. I mean, of course it should be, but to most parents the important thing is that their child is up there on the stage, wearing a sack and minding a lump of carpet disguised as a sheep. Still, your idea sounds interesting. I wish you well with it. I just hope you realise what you may be letting yourself in for.
Believe me, I think everyone will be pleasantly surprised when they see the play on the night.
Aha, you're in.
Where else would I be?
Any news about the crepe paper?
It came in this morning, would you believe?
Oh, that's quick, isn't it?
Considering I only phoned last week, it's incredible.
It's a Christmas miracle.
I've put it in the stockroom.
Right, I'll get there before anyone else can get their hands on it. Oh,
Oh, by the way, did you go and see Miss Lewis last night?
Yes.
How was she?
Sitting up in bed, surrounded by books, and worried to death about what Mr. Sims is doing with the nativity play.
I don't blame her. A man who takes the last of the red crepe paper's capable of anything. Has she had her operation yet?
Not yet. It's scheduled for Friday.
Ah, well, if you see her again, give her my love.
I'll do that.
Oh, well. Suppose I'd better get back to the fray.
Mr. Sims, do you have a minute?
Yes, what is it, Miss
I
Red?
need to see you on a most important matter.
Well, look, will it take long? Only I've got things to do for the nativity play.
Which is precisely why I want to see you. Mr. Sims, you must drop it immediately.
Drop what?
This whole idea. It's absurd. There is only one way to do a nativity play, and that is the way it has always been done.
Oh, now that is nonsense.
It is not, Mr. Sims.
Look, if we all took that attitude, where would we be? There'd have been no progress. No wheel, no electric light, you name
That
it.
is not the same at all. I'm talking about matters of religious sensitivity and tradition, Mr. Sims.
Oh, yes.
Christmas is a hallowed time, and it is hallowed because things have always been done in a certain way.
You mean in a traditional way?
That is right, Mr. Sims, and these do not include Joseph and Mary teleporting to Bethlehem.
Don't worry, Mrs. Rudd. Whatever you may have heard about the nativity play, I know everyone's going to like it.
29, 30, 31, 32, 33. Hello, where have you been?
Shh!
What's wrong?
Anyone else in here?
No, only me.
No one hiding in my office?
Oh, don't be so silly.
Well, is there?
Of course not.
Oh, good.
Honestly, you're worse than the children.
They don't have everyone hunting after them. I feel like a fugitive, chased by a horde of bloodthirsty teachers.
You're exaggerating,
No,
as
I'm not.
usual. Anyway, they should all be in their classes now.
Don't you believe it? They're all waiting to spring out at me when I'm not looking.
Oh, honestly.
If it isn't red crepe paper, it's space-age nativities and the social inequalities of testing. Do you know, Mrs. Perkis even tried to grab me to talk about the ingredients of the Christmas pudding. I mean, I ask you, I thought this was supposed to be a time of peace and goodwill to all men.
Well, so it is.
Well, it certainly doesn't include headmasters.
Oh, don't worry. It'll be all over in a week or two.
Don't let them in, whoever they are.
Too late.
Ah, there you are.
Oh, thank God it's you, Fred.
Why? Who were you expecting?
Trouble. Someone to come and have a go at me.
It is.
Oh, no. Et tu, Fred.
Oh, take no notice of him. He's having one of his turns.
I'm not. I'm being persecuted. What on earth's that? You opening a second-hand clothes shop or something?
What does it look like?
Oh, it's the Father Christmas outfit.
All right.
Oh, yes.
Well, if you don't mind, I'll leave you to it. I want to get these notices up in the staff room before the bell.
Don't go on my account.
I'm not. It's just a good time.
Well?
Oh, well, what?
Look at it.
Well, I am. Seems all right to me.
It's got holes in it.
Has it?
Oh, use your eyes, man. Look here and here and here.
Oh, yes.
Well, then.
Oh, that's your fault, isn't it? You shouldn't smoke your pipe when you're wearing it. I expect you burnt it.
These are moth holes.
Are they?
I know a moth hole when I see one.
Well, then you should have put mothballs in it when you finished with it last year.
I'm not walking around the school smelling of mothballs. It's bad enough having to dress up as Father Christmas, for goodness sake.
Oh, but you do it so well,
and another
Fred.
thing.
Yes?
It's too small. It must have shrunk.
No, it's you, Fred. You're putting on weight.
I am not.
Oh, no.
Look, I can still get into trousers I was wearing nearly 30 years ago.
Yes, I know. I've seen them.
Anyway, the point is, it's about time we had a new outfit.
All right, I'll see what I can do for next year.
Next year?
Oh, come on, Fred. We're only a week or so away from Christmas. And you know what County Hall's like. If we send in a requisition for a new Santa Claus outfit now, we'll be lucky to get it in time for the summer holidays.
In other words, I have to put up with this for another year.
Yes. Can't you get your wife to let out a few seams here and there?
Well, I'll have to, won't I? But I wanted you to know I'm not happy about it.
Stout man.
Not that stout.
No, of course not. Oh, by the way, Sims Star Trek Special. How's it going? Does anyone know?
No idea. I'm keeping well away from it.
He's been playing it all very close to his chest, hasn't he? And it's only another 4 days to lift off.
Lift off?
Well, you know, the performance.
Ah, yes.
I suppose all we can do is hope for the best and pray that no one with any religious convictions turns up to see it.
Oh, it won't be as bad as all that. Just a bit unconventional, I should think.
Yes, but how unconventional? That's the $64 question, isn't it, Fred?
Now, when you robots hear that sound, you know that this is a message for you to go to the Space City.
Like the shepherds?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I've already told you. You are supposed to be shepherds.
Space shepherds?
That's right, Subi.
Sir, are there a lot of sheep in space, sir?
Well, yes, in this story there are. Now, let's get on with it, shall we?
Sir?
Yes, Sundar?
Why can't we be proper shepherds, sir?
You are proper shepherds. You're proper space shepherds.
But why can't we do it the old way?
Do what the old way?
The nativity play. Yes, sir. A few of us have been talking, and while we think this is a nice idea, we don't think anyone's going to get it.
Get what?
What it's all about.
But it's obvious. It's the nativity play. Now, we've been practising this for over a week.
Yes, sir. We know that, but will everyone know that? What he means, sir, is won't they want the proper play?
Look, this is the proper play. It's just a new, modern way of doing it.
Yes, sir.
After all, some of the old ways can be a bit boring, can't they?
Yes, sir.
And we want to interest people with what's happening now, today. I mean, do you still ride around on a donkey nowadays?
My uncle does, sir.
Does he?
Yes, sir, in Pakistan.
Oh yeah, well, that's in Pakistan.
And Omar did when he was in Turkey.
Look, I think we're getting off the point here. Now, what we're trying to do is to make the nativity play just a bit more modern, so that everyone can enjoy it.
Yes, sir.
So we'll start again, shall we? Sundar, you're the space messenger Gabriel, and you've come to this woman on this space station with the good news. Right from the top of page 3. Are you Mary? Go on.
Are you Mary, the wife of the space station carpenter? I am. Then I have a message for you from across the galaxy.
Now, have I forgotten anything? Oh, yes, reports. Now, where did you put them? Come in.
Ah, you're still here.
Only just, Mr. Long. When I've collected my papers, I'm on my way home. Is it urgent?
Not really.
But won't it keep till morning?
I suppose it would. But I was just wondering if you'd had any response to the comments we put in about the tests.
You what?
Was there any reaction?
Oh, yes, there was.
Good.
When I handed them into County Hall at the beginning of this week, they said, "Thank you very much, Mr. Beeston. Good morning." You satisfied?
That's all?
Oh, where have you been all these years, Mr. Long? What did you expect? If they're not already in the waste paper basket, it'll be ages before anyone gets round to reading them.
But they wanted them quite urgently.
Oh, they want everything urgently. Unfortunately, urgently is a one-way street with County Hall. Anyway, you know as well as I do, your comments won't delay the start of the tests.
Yeah, I wondered in this case...
They may, if you're lucky, amend the practical application of them a little. Well, that's about all.
It's wrong, you know, this testing. It's wrong to determine someone's fate on what happens in a couple of hours on a particular day.
I know you feel it is, but other people feel it's the correct way to assess the children's progress. And as they've decided it'll happen, well, there's not a lot you can do about it.
It's such a backward step.
Well, you'll have to learn to live with it, Mr. Long. The kids will. And they'll survive.
Suppose so. Still, I'm not going to let it rest, just like that.
No, I'm sure you won't. And the best of luck.
Good night.
Good night. There goes the Education Liberation Front. Now, those reports. Ah.
Hello, Mr. Beeston.
Miss Lewis!
I hoped I'd catch you before you left.
Well, what on earth are you doing here? You're supposed to be in hospital.
Yes.
I was coming to see you this evening with some grapes.
Well, actually, I don't like grapes.
No, but I do. But where's your stick? You ought to be limping.
Only when you've had the operation.
You haven't had it?
Afraid not.
Oh.
They needed the bed for an urgent case, so they discharged me.
And you're back on the waiting list again?
I'm afraid so.
They kept you in all that time and then didn't do anything. Oh, my God. We complain about the education system. There was no need to come back this afternoon, though. I mean, I know you can hardly bear to drag yourself away from school, but...
But I wanted to let you know I'll be back in action tomorrow.
And I must admit, that is good news.
And I'd be interested to find out what's happening to the nativity play. I keep hearing odd little rumours about it.
Ah, there's no problem with that. Sims is totally in control.
Is he?
Oh, absolutely. You've nothing to worry about at all.
But what's he doing with it?
Oh, I've no idea at all. But you can take it from me. It'll be all right.
But if you don't know what he's doing...
Oh, it's a nativity play, but it's more of a sort of mystery nativity play.
Oh, be serious.
Well, I am. I know it's set in the future. That's all I know. He could be doing Joseph and Mary meet Darth Vader.
Oh, God.
You never know. God might like it. Whatever else, I'm sure Sims is doing it in the right spirit.
But if the parents don't like it, what'll they say? They'll hold me responsible.
No, they won't. Anyway, look on the bright side. You and your big toe could be spending Christmas in hospital. Hey, come on. I'll buy you a welcome back drink.
That night, the shepherds were on the hillside watching their sheep when one of them looked up and said, "Look! Up in the sky, there is a great light. Do not be afraid. I am an angel of the Lord.
Fred?
Come to you with a message.
When's all this space business going to come in?
Don't ask me.
Well, so far it looks the same as it's always done. Remember those cardboard crowns?
Oh, yes.
Well, even that same old sewing box of Mrs. Wilson's for the frankincense.
At the same time, in another part of the country.
Well, if this is the future, it doesn't say much for it, does it?
Quiet, you're putting everybody off. Everybody's looking at you.
No, they're not. They're looking at you.
Don't be ridiculous.
I think they're waiting for some music. There's a bunch of kings ready to walk in the back doors.
Oh, really? This is all your fault, Mr. Beeston.
You know, I thought it was terrific. Congratulations.
Thanks.
You did a great job.
And it's not all that easy with the little ones.
Oh, I was really pleased for them. They were really good.
Well, they had to be, didn't they?
Well, look who was producing them.
Oh, come on.
Well, Mr. Sims.
Ah, Miss Lewis.
Well done. A lovely play.
You liked it?
It was beautiful. It really was.
Well, I'm glad, because, I didn't want to let you down.
Oh, no danger of that. Though I was expecting something just a little bit different.
Well, you did get it, didn't you? When the angel's halo fell off.
Oh, that. It didn't matter.
Her language wasn't very angelic, was it?
That's true.
Ah, there you are, Mr. Sims. I haven't had a chance to congratulate you yet.
Thank you.
It was nice to see the nativity play in its traditional form. Don't you agree, Miss Lewis?
I was just telling Mr. Sims.
Almost up to your standard, I think, Miss Lewis. I
Really?
can pay you no higher compliment.
Well, thank you. Anyway, if you'll excuse me, I'd just like to grab a cup of tea while there's still some left.
Allow me. I think I owe you a favour.
Oh, thanks.
I hope you were pleased with my music.
Oh, yes, it was just right.
Yes, I think I know what is required for the play, and it adds so much, don't you think?
Made all the difference.
I knew you would agree.
Would you excuse me, Mrs. Rudd? I just want a few words with Stanislavski.
Oh, of course. We shall continue our conversation later.
Right.
Well, Mr. Sims.
Yes?
Tell me what went wrong.
Well, nothing went wrong, did it? I mean, apart from the halo.
Well, to the nativity play, where were all the spaceships, the little green men?
Oh, that.
I thought to myself, either Flash Gordon's changed his image, or we had second thoughts, maybe.
Well, it was the kids, really. They just didn't want to do the space age version.
So you had second thoughts? Eh?
Yeah, I decided to do this one instead.
Ah.
I still don't understand why they didn't want to do the modern version, though.
Well, that's easy.
Is it?
When you've been doing this job a bit longer, you'll discover that kids are real conservatives at heart, with a small c, I hasten to add.
You think so?
I'm sure of it. I mean, kids like tradition. And when it comes down to things like the nativity play, they want to do what their big brothers and sisters did last year and the year before that.
Oh, I can see that.
No, you made the right decision. You did exactly what Miss Lewis has been doing these last few years. And you did it very well indeed. Ah, is that for me, Miss Lewis?
Oh, no, I got it for...
Oh, that's very kind of you, thank you.
Well...
A toast, don't you think? Well done, Mr. Sims. And a really very Merry Christmas to all of us.
You've been listening to King Street Junior by Jim Eldridge, and starring Karl Howman as Philip Sims and James Grout as Mr. Beeston, the headmaster. Tom Watson featured as Mr. Holliday, the deputy head, Margaret John as Mrs. Stone, school secretary, Marlene Sidaway as Miss Lewis, Vivian Martin as Mrs. Rudd, Paul Copley as Mr. Long, and Deirdre Costello as Mrs. Patterson. Darrell was played by Daniel Everett, Subi by Freya Shepherd, Sundar by Nicholas Gatt, and Jenny by Natalie Brown. The producer was John Fawcett Wilson. We present King Street Junior by Jim Eldridge, starring Karl Howman as Philip Sims and James Grout as Mr. Beeston, the headmaster.
Frankly, words almost fail me. You should have been finished and away from here by now.
Oh, it's not our fault.
And please turn off that radio. I can hardly hear myself think.
Switch it off, mate.
All right. And please keep it off. This is an educational establishment, not a discotheque.
All right.
So, why are you still here?
Well, like I said, it's not down to us, is it?
Well, who is it down to?
It's County Hall, isn't it? We just do what they tell us.
Oh, heaven knows what they're up to. I expect County Hall to do crackpot things, but not this crackpot.
Well, like I said...
Yes, I know. It's not down to you.
Right.
Hello there.
Good morning.
I see the decorators are still here.
Unfortunately.
I thought all the painting was going to be done in the Christmas holidays while the kids were away.
So did we all, Mr. Sims.
Well, I suppose we could go if you want to.
What, and leave the job half finished?
Well, it's only a suggestion.
Actually, Mr. Beeston, have you got a minute before school starts?
Will it take long?
No, not more than 5 minutes or so.
Oh, very well. And you decorators, I want this job finished as soon as possible.
Right, cheers.
Come on, let's go to my office.
Thanks.
Give me a minute first, will you? I need to go through the timetable to make 1 or 2 last-minute adjustments.
Ah, that's one of the things that might affect what I want to see you about.
The timetable?
Yes.
Don't you dare, or I might regret having you back here.
Well, I hope not.
Oh, so do I.
Well, I see Mr. Sims is back with us.
Yes, they've given him another term supply contract.
And he accepted it.
I know, it's incredible.
I'd have thought after 1 term here he'd have been desperate to get back to high school teaching.
Oh, I don't know. Those high school kids scale their pants off me. Not one of them under 6 feet.
Yeah. And muscles on them like Frank Bruno.
That's right. I blame the welfare state.
Aye, what's this about the welfare state?
We were talking about Mr. Sims.
Why? Have they sold him off to pay for education?
What are you talking about?
Privatisation, selling off the welfare state.
Oh, if you're going to talk politics, I'm going to have my cup of tea in peace.
Well, how was your Christmas?
Oh, the usual stuff. Open the presents, read the cards, and have another argument with Mother as to why I won't eat turkey at Christmas.
I've told you before, haven't I? You vegetarians are starting to take over. There was you first, now there's Sims. Where will the nut cutlet strike next? I ask myself.
Where is Mr. Sims? His car's here, but I haven't seen him.
I think he's in with Mr. Beeston.
He's probably suggesting an interesting new colour scheme for the toilets.
When the decorators get round to it.
I know, it's terrible, isn't it? They were supposed to be finished by now.
It's a bit idiotic having them here with all the kids round.
But exciting, though. Just think of the fun we're all going to have. Cleaning the kids up before they go home from school.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what I'd like to try out at King Street. See, I've already done a history game with the lower age ranges at 2 of the high schools I've worked at, and the kids loved it.
Oh, but they were high school.
Ah, true, but this game covers all ages. Anyway, there's only a year or so difference between those children and the third years here.
Yes, I'll grant you that.
See, the point of this game is that it's based around the theory of teaching history by living it.
Living it?
Yes.
Well, it sounds rather like that TV programme where you build a cave in the middle of the playground and rub 2 stones together to start a fire.
Oh, no, it's nothing like that.
Oh, good.
This really is more like a game. You take one group of classes and you involve them all in a particular project. What I thought we could do is enact 1066 using 3 classes from one year, say the third year. 1 class will be the Normans, 1 class the English, and 1 class the Vikings.
We're not going to have battles taking place all over the school, are we?
No, the idea is that we prepare an overall game plan to show where each country starts from, and then we plot the historical events leading up to the Battle of Hastings. See, to score points, each class has to achieve certain objectives, such as the Vikings having to reach an agreement with the Normans that they will combine against the English, and the English have to form a political alliance with William, and so on. Do you get the idea?
It all sounds a bit complicated, and...
Well, don't worry, the children will be able to follow it.
I wasn't thinking of the children. No, I'm not sure, Mr. Sims. I'm not convinced it'll really work here.
Oh, it will, believe me.
Well, all right, it may, with your class, but I'm not sure about involving the others. Even if they all like the idea, it'll mean juggling the timetable around so that all you third years are doing history at the same time.
Well, actually, I've looked into that side of it.
Oh, I'm sure you have.
And if we made it Monday afternoon, that's my normal history period, and Mr. Long's doing social studies with his class.
Well, let's see. What's Mr. Holliday's class up to?
Well, they have music with Mrs. Rudd Monday afternoons.
Ah, yes, so they do. I wonder if you shouldn't have second thoughts, Mr. Sims.
Well, I don't see why. I'm sure if it was all explained to her, the value of it.
And who do you think should do the explaining?
Well, as it's a switch in the timetable, wouldn't you want to tell her?
No, Mr. Sims.
Oh.
But if you think you can do it, you have my blessing.
Me?
Well, who else is better qualified? It is your idea.
Yeah, but I don't think
Yes,
Mrs.
yes, that's the best plan by far. You have a word with Mrs. Rudd, and let me know how you get on.
Good morning, Mrs. Stone.
Oh, good morning, Mrs. Rudd. Happy New Year.
Thank you, and may I wish you the same.
Did you have a good Christmas?
It was delightful, very quiet, of course.
So was ours, but that's how we like it.
I do agree. There's far too much brassiness about Christmas these days, isn't there? One almost begins to forget its true meaning.
Yes, sadly.
Is Mr. Beeston in his office?
No, he's taking Mr. Marchand's class this period.
Oh.
Can I help?
No, I don't think so. I expect I shall see him at the staff meeting at lunchtime.
If there's anything I can do in the meantime.
It's just those dreadful men painting the corridor outside my music room.
They aren't bothering you?
Bothering me? Every time I sit at the piano, I see one of them peering in through my window, nose pressed to the glass.
You should have said something to him.
I wouldn't lower myself, though I did give him one of my looks, and would you believe? The man had the temerity to smile at me.
Oh,
Mr. Beeston must do something about it. It really is not good enough.
I'm sure he will.
Well, I hope so.
So the way it works is one class of the Normans, one of the English, and a third of the Vikings.
I didn't even know the Vikings were in the Battle of Hastings.
Well, they weren't. They were at Stamford Bridge.
Were Chelsea playing at home that week?
Stamford Bridge in Yorkshire, stupid.
I know that, stupid. Bit far from Hastings, though. Did they get lost on the way?
They weren't intending to go to Hastings. They were invading the north.
I see. I think.
Anyway, are you in?
Yeah, it sounds as though it could be fun for the kids.
Great.
Who's going to be the third class?
Mr. Hollidays, the third one in our year.
Yeah, but they have music with Mrs. Rudd on Mondays, don't they?
Ah, well, don't worry about that. I'm going to see them both. I thought I'd better talk to Mr. Holliday first, as it's his class that will be involved. I'll see him after school.
And Fred will be easier than Mrs. Rudd, won't he?
Oh, no. I will see Mrs. Rudd before school starts tomorrow.
You're a braver man than I am.
OK, everyone, as you were. Now, if you can each find a seat, we can get on with the meeting, all right? Right, well, first, welcome back to all those of you I haven't yet said hello to. Hello. And I hope you had a good Christmas. Thank you. Now, as you may have noticed this morning, we start our Happy New Year with the smell of paint in our nostrils.
That should all have been finished by now, shouldn't it?
Indeed it should, Mrs. Patterson.
So why isn't it?
Well, you'll have to ask that of a higher authority than me.
Are we making any special provisions against children getting paint on them?
Well, I mean, apart from putting them all in sacks with their heads poking out, there's not a lot we can do.
I did mention it in assembly this morning.
And a lot of notice they'll take of that.
Well, let's hope they do. You'll just have to keep reminding them to stay away from the corridor walls.
Well, what actually went wrong? I mean, why are they still here?
Well, from what I can make out, when the painters came to do the classrooms during the holiday, the job sheet didn't include corridors and toilets. And that omission was only spotted last week.
Typical.
So, having finished our classrooms, they'd all been moved on to decorating the toilets at County Hall.
It's like painting the Forth Bridge.
Anyway, with such a high priority job, they couldn't get back here until this week, and that in a nutshell is it.
Well, I think it's abominable. In fact, I wish to register a complaint about them.
Well, they aren't making too bad a job of it.
I was not referring to their work, Miss Lewis. One of them continually peers in at my window, making silly faces at me, and I want it stopped immediately.
Obviously a music lover.
Please.
Anyway, let's move on, shall we? Item 1 on the agenda proper. That's amendments to the timetable. Fred?
Yes, you'll all remember last term we had a few problems with use of the hall when it was wet weather, because of sports taking priority.
You can say that again.
Yeah, well, to try and get over that problem, what we've done is to move the hall periods to the morning where possible.
Yes, that's a
Well,
good
hold
idea.
on a minute. Look at Wednesdays and Thursdays. That's going to affect the library periods with my remedial group.
Good night.
Mr. Holliday, have you got me?
If it is a minute, I want to get through the bypass before the rush hour starts.
It won't take long. It's just an idea I'd like to try out.
All right then, but keep it short.
Well, it's a new way of doing history, which I thought we could do with the third year classes.
Oh, yeah.
The kids will love it. I mean, we take a particular historic event, in this case 1066, and we divide the three classes up into three groups.
And after he'd explained all that, what happened?
Well, I had the complete history of why the English lost the Battle of Hastings, plus a blow-by-blow description of the death of King Harold, and the complete family tree of William the Conqueror to round things off.
Well, he's keen. You've got to give him that.
I can do without keen teachers at going home time. It was nearly 4:30 before I got away. My wife thought I'd eloped with Mrs. Rudd.
Still, it sounds interesting if it works.
It's all right for you. You didn't have to listen to him.
I did. Don't forget I was the first one he collared about it.
You should have put the tin hat on it straight away.
I don't want to discourage the lad. Anyway, what did you say?
That's the point. After half an hour's ear bashing, I suddenly realised I don't even have my class on Monday afternoons. They're doing music with Mrs. Rudd. So I told him to go and bother her.
So did I.
Oh, did you?
I wouldn't mind being a fly on the wall for that little confrontation.
No, Mr. Sims. Absolutely not.
But I've already spoken to Mr. Holliday.
I don't care who you may have spoken to.
He has no objections.
Mr. Holliday does not take his class for music, Mr. Sims. I do. And I have no intention of giving up my music so that his class can take part in some silly game.
It is not a silly game. It is a learning experience.
So is falling off a bicycle, but it does not mean that I wish to experience it.
This is different.
You young teachers tend to throw these phrases around in the air willy-nilly as if they mean something. There is only one real educational experience, Mr. Sims, and that is to put children in a classroom and by training their minds to teach them something.
But this will be teaching them something. Look, it's just like an ordinary lesson, but in the form of a game.
Children already know how to play games, Mr. Sims. Now, if you will excuse me, I have to prepare the music stands for assembly.
Oh, I hate this job.
Why?
It's the kids, isn't it?
What have they been doing now?
They keep sticking their hands on this wall when we're not looking.
Yeah.
It's worse than that outside wall we was doing last week.
What, County Hall?
Yeah. Do you remember we got it all lovely and finished when that dog came along and peed on it?
Well, it was the toilet.
Embedded in the paintwork it was.
Here.
What?
What you done with that other tin of paint?
What tin of paint?
Well, the one was down there.
I ain't touched it.
Well, I haven't had it.
Yeah. You know what? I bet those kids have nicked it.
No, we'd have seen them.
Not if they was quick, we wouldn't.
Might have been a teacher.
What would a teacher want with a tin of paint?
Well, do nicely, wouldn't it? A few little jobs around the house.
Right. And they're always short of money from what you hear.
Oh, I don't know. I reckon anything's possible with this lot.
Well, look, whoever took it, I reckon you ought to go and complain to the headmaster.
The kids have done what?
Stolen a tin of the decorator's paint.
Do they know for sure it's the kids?
Well, who else could it be?
Well, I don't know. Maybe the decorators just left it lying about somewhere.
Well, they say they've looked. Frankly, it wouldn't surprise me to find that Mrs. Perkis used it to make this stew.
Do you want some ketchup?
Bucketful, please.
Here you are.
So, what did Mrs. Rudd say about the game?
Well, I suppose the short answer is no. She doesn't want to join in.
Oh, is this about your 1066 history game?
Yes.
I told Miss Lewis all about it this morning.
Oh, it sounds a lot of fun. I wish my class could join in.
No, I wish they could as well. The trouble is, it's designed for each group to be as equal as possible. And with yours being so much younger...
Can't you adapt it in any way?
How do you mean?
Well, if we count the Vikings as the losers anyway, then Miss Lewis's class can be the Vikings.
Oh, that's not fair.
Right, and it's against the principle of the game. The idea is that there are no losers before the game begins. Anyone can win, isn't it?
Yeah, but without 3 classes, we can't play it anyway, can we?
Yeah, that's true. Yes, you know, I suppose we could adapt it a bit to give your class more advantages, to take into account the fact that they're so much younger.
And simplified, please. I'd like them to understand what they were doing.
Yes. Do you know, I think it could be done.
Oh, it'd be marvellous if you could.
Right, well, I'll get on with that this evening, and we'll make a start tomorrow, eh? And blow Mrs. Rudd and her music. So the way it's all been worked out is that we are the English, Mr. Long's class are the Normans, and Miss Lewis's class are the Vikings.
Sure, we should beat 'em easy. Couple of wallops and it'll all be over.
There will be no wallops. We will not be having actual battles. Quiet now. The whole point of this history game is that it's a game of cunning and skill, like chess.
It ain't the same as having battles, though.
Quiet, Janine. Now, there are rules in this game. Every 2 days, we have to decide what our next move will be. And we put that move on a piece of paper, which we put into a sealed envelope. Mr. Long's class and Miss Lewis's will be doing the same.
Now, this note here is called a crotchet, and this note here is called a minim. A crotchet is this long, ta, while a minim is the longer, ta. Yes, Andrew?
Please, miss, why are we doing this?
What do you mean, why are we doing this? You are learning the principles of musical notation.
But shouldn't we be doing this history game?
No, you shouldn't. You are timetabled for music this afternoon, and music it will be.
Please, miss.
Yes, Alice?
But Mr. Sims and Mr. Long's classes are doing this game.
What their classes are doing has nothing to do with us. You might as well say that because Mr. Marchant's class are playing football this afternoon, you should be playing football.
Yes!
Be quiet, please. And put your hand down, Andrew. We have heard quite enough about this ridiculous so-called history game.
But the other classes say the only reason we're not doing this is you're scared of them.
What?
Yeah, they say you're scared because you know you'll lose anyway. Yeah.
Well, really, I've never heard such an outrageous suggestion in my life, and I shall deal with this later in my own way. Now, will you pay attention to your music sheets and mark time with me? First the crotchet, ta, then the minim, ta.
And if that weren't bad enough, now me brushes have started disappearing.
Well, don't look at me.
What are your kids, aren't they?
And you're not keeping a very good eye on your equipment, are you? Anyway, how do you know it's the children?
Well, if it ain't the kids, it's got to be one of the teachers.
I can assure you that my staff are not in the habit of stealing county property.
Well, it's the pressures of teaching, isn't it? They say teachers do funny things.
Don't forget about the money.
Yeah, that's right. If one of them's skint, they might be a bit unbalanced.
Frankly, I think any department that sends decorators down to paint a school when it's full of kids are the last people to talk about being unbalanced. And please don't remind me. I know it isn't down to you.
Well, here's your coffee.
Thank you, Mrs. Stone.
Are you sure you've got everything you need?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll be in the other office if you need anything.
And we are out to all visitors.
Yes, I know.
Oh, God, I hate doing the timetable.
Well, don't blame the timetable. We got it all sorted out.
But we must do something about Mrs. Patterson's remedial group. But what?
I'll be through it till I'm blue in the face. Oh, by the way, before we get too involved, be prepared for trouble.
I'm always prepared for trouble.
I heard a whisper from my class today. Mrs. Rudd is upset.
Mrs. Rudd's always upset. Well, what is it this time? The mad decorator still winking at her?
It's Sims and his history game.
Oh, what's she upset about that for? She's put her foot down about it. She's not involved.
Oh, that's why, apparently. They're saying she's scared.
Oh, Mrs. Rudd scared? I don't believe it. I'd put money on her against Godzilla. Who's saying she's scared?
Sims and Long, so I've heard.
Never.
I'm just telling you what I heard. But it might need watching. You know what she's like.
Yes, I do. But it's your class, so you can watch it.
Oh, thank you very much.
Come on, Fred, let's have another crack at this timetable.
All right.
Now, who's this on Thursdays, period 3? Body language? I don't remember anything about this.
Mr. Sims, hang on a minute, will you?
Yes?
Sure, you're quick off the mark today, aren't you?
Well, I've got a dental appointment at 4:30.
Hard luck.
But if it's quick...
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you that we had our first go at your 1066 game today, and the kids are really into it already.
Well, did they understand it all right?
Better than I did. In fact, they explained the bits to me that I couldn't understand.
Just the man I want to see.
Look out.
And you too, Mr. Long.
What is it, Mrs. Rudd?
I wish both of you to know that I deeply resent the inference that I am not allowing Mr. Holliday's class to take part in this history game of yours because I am scared.
Well, I never said... I don't know where you heard
Please,
that.
I have no wish to argue over who said what. I am merely here to tell you that I have decided that Mr. Holliday's class shall take part.
What?
And as I already take his class for music, I shall lead them in the game.
You?
Yes, me, Mr. Long. Have you any objection?
No, not at all.
Good.
Yeah, but Mrs. Rudd, Miss Lewis's class have already taken over the part of the Vikings.
Then we shall join forces with them.
Yes, but you can't do that.
I shall liaise with Miss Lewis in the morning, and we shall work out our tactics together.
Now, really, Mr. Sims, will you please calm down?
After all, it's not the end of the world.
Well, I know it isn't, but to walk in the way she did and just take over, it really made me mad.
That's Mrs. Rudd, I'm afraid.
But we already had 3 classes taking part.
Forgive me for mentioning it, but as I recall, you did say the game was intended to have 3 classes from the same year.
Well, originally, yes.
So that's what you've now got.
But it's not fair on Miss Lewis. She's furious, and quite rightly too.
All right. Well, what do you want me to do about it?
Well, tell Mrs. Rudd tough luck.
Tough luck?
Yes. I mean, I'd do it myself, but as I'm only a supply teacher, I don't think she'd take much notice of me.
She never takes any notice of me, Mr. Sims, and I'm the headmaster. Look, can't you work something out and try to absorb another class into the game?
I suppose I could, but I'm not really inclined
Because
to.
if you can't sort it out between you, then in my view it would be better if you scrap the whole idea.
Scrap the game? Just because I've upset the school's music teacher?
No, because I prefer to run a trouble-free school rather than one where we create more problems than are absolutely necessary.
All right, we'll see if we can work it out. But I'm not happy.
I'm sure you're not.
I better have a word with Miss Lewis.
You do that.
I still think Mrs. Rudd has acted very badly.
Right. Oh, that's what I like about this school, the teamwork.
Here, Mick!
What?
You better come outside and have a look at this.
Why, what is it?
There.
God.
Now we know what happened to that tin of nicked paint.
But what's it mean?
Don't ask me, but I reckon it's going to take an hell of a lot of white spirit to clean that lot up.
I don't believe it, Fred. I just don't believe it.
Come and see for yourself. You can't miss it. It's huge letters painted all along the far wall of the playground. Down with English, Norman rules OK.
Norman? Who's Norman? Whose class is he in?
I know. I spent half an hour racking my brains trying to work that one out. Then it clicked.
Sims history game.
Exactly.
Yes.
If you ask me, it's getting a bit out of hand.
I suppose we ought to be grateful they wrote something clean. Come in. Yes, Mrs. Patterson.
I wondered, have you worked something out about my remedial groups?
Oh, you'll have to talk to Fred about it.
Yes, all right.
I have to go and see a man about a painting.
I don't see how it follows that it was my class who did it.
Of course it does. Look at it. Your class are the Normans. Who else is going to paint Norman's rule on the wall?
It doesn't exactly say Normans.
I can see what it says, and all it tells me is your class can't spell.
Well, it might have been someone trying to make trouble for our class.
Well, if it was, they've succeeded.
Oh, hello. I heard you were out here. Hey, what's that?
I should have thought that was obvious, Mr. Sims.
Oh.
Are the letters big enough for you? I was wondering if we shouldn't try to get that wall into the Guinness Book of Records.
Well, I don't really think you can blame the game.
No, then who should I blame? The science department? The art department? It doesn't say Picasso rules OK, it says Norman's rule OK.
Well, actually, it says Norman rules OK.
I can see perfectly well what it says.
Well, look, if you want my opinion, it's the decorators who are to blame.
That's right.
They shouldn't leave the paint lying around.
Well, please don't start reminding me about the decorators. Now, I'm making this your responsibility, all right? You and Mr. Long.
Yes, yes, Mr.
Just get this wall cleaned up and get this game of yours finished as soon as possible.
Well, have you got it all sorted out?
It's all my fault, you know. I should have known better. I should have been warned when we had that trouble over the nativity play.
Oh, come on now.
No, he should be made to wear a sign saying this man is dangerous.
Well, I'll tell you one thing.
What?
It's working.
What is?
This history game.
Oh, please, I don't want to hear another word about this game.
But it is working. From what I hear, the children are getting really interested.
In painting on walls?
No, I've heard it from Mr. Long and Miss Lewis.
Well, they would, wouldn't they?
But even Mr. Holliday agrees that the game's got his class more excited about history, about how things happened, why they happened.
Well, there'll be some history made here if Mr. Sims doesn't watch his step. And it'll make his Battle of Hastings look like a peace conference by comparison.
Now, I don't have to tell you because most of you have seen it. Yesterday, someone painted slogans on the playground wall.
It wasn't us, sir.
Look, I didn't say it was. Whoever did it has let us all down.
I reckon Mr. Long's class done it.
It doesn't matter who did it. We've still let everyone down. And now we have to prove to Mr. Beeston that this is not a game where people go around causing damage to school property.
Can we have one of those sort of games after, sir?
No, we can't. We've got to show Mr. Beeston and everyone that the history game is a proper game, an educational game, played with the rules that we all stick to. Agreed?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now it's time for us to make our next move. So what have you all decided?
We decided to attack the Normans, sir.
Yes?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, then if you give me the note of our next move, I'll put it in the envelope.
I haven't got it, sir.
Well, where is it? You're supposed to have it ready for me.
It was, sir, but Mrs. Rudd came and took it.
She what?
Yeah, she came up and told us we should give it to her.
Well, she's not allowed to do that.
I know, sir. That's what I told her, but she said she was a teacher, so I had to give it to her.
Right, class. Reading books out. I'll be back in a minute.
Now, the old manuscripts tell us that most of the songs that the early Vikings would sing were dedicated either to their gods or to battle. As to the kind of musical instruments they used...
Mrs. Rudd!
Do you mind, Mr. Sims? I am in the middle of a class.
Mrs. Rudd, you took our move.
I haven't the faintest idea what you're talking about. Now, if you will please leave my classroom.
Not without our class's move.
Certainly not. I will see you later.
It's our secret move, and you're not supposed to know it until after all the moves have been made. Now, those are the rules of the game.
I assume you are referring to the history game.
You know I am.
In which case, you will be aware that in real history, people do not adhere to rules. That is the truth of history. I just did what any good Viking would have done.
But you cheated.
Exactly.
But you can't.
I just did, Mr. Sims. And I suggest that if you wish to discuss this matter further, we do so at break in the staff room and not in front of the children.
We don't mind, miss. No, we don't mind.
Be quiet. Well, Mr. Sims?
All right. I'll see you at break time.
Now, the Vikings, who were nearly always successful in their warlike encounters, preferred the sound of the horn to the gentler, warmer tune.
So, it's all over at last, is it?
Yes.
And you'll be buying me dinner today as your class won the game?
It ought to be Mrs. Rudd. She's the one who did it.
Dangerous woman, Fred.
You don't have to tell me. She pulled the same trick in Long and Lewis as she did with Sims. Got all their moves. I wouldn't have had the nerve.
Well, that'll teach him to tangle with a Medusa. Anyway, the Vikings now rule England.
Well, they won't be that much worse than the other lot.
Except for a bit more rape and pillage.
True. Mind you know, the others are demanding a rematch. Claim Mrs. Rudd won by a foul.
Not on your life. I want to quit while the school's still standing. Come in.
Mr. Beeston?
Aha! Enter King Harold, killed by a Viking, and in the back.
You've heard, yes?
And before you say another word, definitely no rematch, Mr. Sims, despite what you think about Mrs. Rudd.
Oh, don't worry. I admit I was angry at first, but I've been thinking about it, and she's right, you know.
Oh, you surprise me.
Well, the politics of war are unfair, aren't they? Same with history. Win by any means. That's what she did, and you've got to admire her.
That's very generous of you.
Anyway, I really came to give you a message from the decorator.
Don't tell me. He wants you to wink at Mrs. Rudd for him.
No. He asked me to tell you he can't do the ceilings.
Oh, why not, for heaven's sake?
More paint problems?
No, I'm afraid this time someone's stolen their ladder.
Oh. Give me strength.
You've been listening to King Street Junior by Jim Eldridge, and starring Karl Howman as Philip Sims and James Grout as Mr. Beeston, the headmaster. Tom Watson featured as Mr. Holliday, the deputy head, Margaret John as Mrs. Stone, school secretary, Paul Copley as Mr. Long, Vivian Martin as Mrs. Rudd, Deirdre Costello as Mrs. Patterson, and Marlene Sidaway as Miss Lewis. Ben was played by John Challis, Mick by Phil Nice, Hanif by Robert Lynham, Janine by Victoria Ludlow, Andy by Nicholas Askew, and Alice by Lindsay Pierce. The producer was John Fawcett Wilson. We present King Street Junior by Jim Eldridge, starring Karl Howman as Philip Sims and James Grout as Mr. Beeston, the headmaster.
Oh, that damn noise. King Street, Junior. What? Oh, I'm sorry, would you repeat that? I can't hear you. Yes, they're drilling the road up just outside my window. Yes, it is, very. Sorry, I didn't catch your name. Mrs. Martin? Oh, sorry, Miss Marshall at Highfield. Right, I'll tell Mrs. Patterson. I said I'll tell Mrs. Patterson. Goodbye. Oh, this is intolerable.
God, what a morning! I've just been taking Martin's class for maths. There are about 3 kids in there who know where their brains are. The rest are still searching.
Well, at least you haven't had to put up with this awful racket.
Oh, yes, I know. It's terrible, isn't it?
They've been at it since I got here this morning, and it's now 10:15. Can't you get them to stop?
How do I do that?
Well, phone up the council.
And what will they say? There's nothing we can do. The road needs mending.
But it's practically driving me mad. I've got the returns on the dinner figures, the stock figures to balance.
I know.
County Hall want the insurance figures this afternoon. There are letters to type, and the phone never stops. It's bad enough without all that drilling going on.
Yes, all right. I'll phone them and see what I can do.
Good.
As soon as I get the chance. Remember, I'm covering for Martin.
Well, what's wrong with now?
I will as soon as I get a minute.
Honestly.
And as we're coming up to break, we'll leave the drawing till later. Right, pens and pencils away. Quietly now. Now off you go to break.
Please, sir, Mr. Sims.
Yes, Chandra, what is it?
Can I stay in for break, sir? My leg hurts.
Well, what have you done to it?
I don't know, sir. It just hurts. I think I hurt it coming to school.
And how did you do that?
I don't know, sir.
Look, Chandra, I might feel more inclined to believe that your leg hurts if you hadn't come to me yesterday at break time asking to stay in because you had a bad cold.
I did have a cold.
Come on, get your hat and coat on and out you go. It'll do you good.
Please, sir.
Out!
Yes, sir.
I don't know how we're expected to do our jobs. It's quite outrageous. Just listen to
I don't know about you. I can't do anything with all that noise going on.
Absolutely. You can't concentrate, can you? And the kids get restless.
Precisely, and trying to teach music, it's quite impossible. I can hardly hear myself play the piano.
Oh, it's not all bad then.
Really, Mr. Long.
I was only joking.
I'm in no mood for jokes today, and particularly your kind.
Oh, it's all that drilling. We're all a bit on edge.
Has anyone seen Mr. Marchant?
No, he's away today.
Who's away today?
Mr. Marchant is off sick again.
Actually, his stomach's playing him up, apparently.
Well, I'm not surprised eating at this place.
Hasn't taken you long to find out.
Tea or coffee?
Oh, coffee, please. Thanks.
Mr. Sims?
Yes?
Have you got a minute? I'd like a word.
Yes, sure.
In private, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, yes, of course.
Bet it's extra playground duty.
Covering for Mr. Marchant.
Well, what can I do for you, Mr. Holloway?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you strike me as the sort of chap who'd give a straight answer to a straight question.
Well, I'd like to think so.
Or give an honest opinion if you were asked.
Well, I suppose so, but it depends on what it is, really.
Well, I'll tell you. It's about my speech. I'm a bit concerned.
Oh, your speech? Well, there's no problem. It's perfect. When you take assembly, even those at the back of the hall can hear you perfectly.
Not that sort of speech, Sims.
Oh.
This is a speech, a talk, I'm giving to my local round table tomorrow evening.
Oh, I see.
Transport through the ages. What do you think?
Yes,
It's something I've always been keen on, and I do have some interesting views on the subject.
Yes, well, I'm sure it will go down very well.
I'm sure it will. But as it's a new departure for me, I thought I should try it out on someone before I air it in public.
Yes, but I mean, I'm no expert on transport, Mr. Holliday.
All the better. You give me an objective view.
Yes, but what about Mr. Beeston or one of the others?
I wouldn't get an honest opinion, Mr. Sims. They'd say it was fine, whether they meant it or not.
Oh, I don't know.
But I think you would give me an honest reaction, straight from the shoulder.
Well, if you think so. Though I am a bit tied up at the moment.
Don't worry about that. I know we're rather pressed for time at break. But now I know you'll do it, there'll be time later in the day. I'll catch up with you then.
Oh, not again. King Street, Junior. Who? Oh, yes, County Hall. The what? The insurance figures. Yes, I know you need them this afternoon, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult. Yes. Yes, all right. Goodbye. Oh, I'll never get them done at this rate. Oh, will you please shut up?
So that is one use of the apostrophe, in the place of a missing letter. Now, where else is the apostrophe used? Yes, Maureen.
We've done all this with Mr. Marchant, sir.
Have you?
Yes, Mr. Beeston.
And now you're doing it all over again with me, right?
Yes, sir.
So, where else is the apostrophe used? Sundar?
To show something belongs to something, sir.
Just a minute. How did you do that?
Do what, sir?
That bruise on your forehead.
Oh, I fell over, sir.
Where?
In the playground, sir.
Well, when was that?
At break time, sir.
Well, why didn't you come and tell me? I was on playground duty.
I thought it would be all right, sir.
Well, it's not all right, Sundar. You must always tell a teacher if you fall over or have an accident, and that goes for all of you, right?
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir.
Well, don't apologise to me. It's your head. Now, this afternoon, when Mrs. Rogers comes in, go and show it to her, all right?
Right, sir.
Now, back to the apostrophe. Open your books at page 17, exercise 2. And there you will see a list of 10 questions, and each question has an apostrophe missing.
99, 100, 101. Oh, where's the blue form? Oh, hell, not again. Damn it, blast it. King Street Junior. Hello? Look, would you hold on a minute? Thank you. For heaven's sake, will you stop that row? I'm sorry about that. I said I'm sorry. Who? Miss Lewis is teaching at the moment. Right, I'll tell her. I said I'll tell her. I said... Right, goodbye. If that phone rings again. Now then, where was I? 100... Or was it 101? Oh, God, I've had it.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Oh, is Mr. Beeston in?
No, and if you find him, you can tell him I've gone home.
What?
And I shall not be back until someone puts a stop to that racket out there. Goodbye.
And you mean she just went off, just like that?
Well, you can't blame her. It's right outside her office, isn't it?
What did Mr. Beeston say when you told him?
Panic.
I'll bet.
At least he'll probably do something about it now.
Well, I don't see what he can do. The roads have to be mended.
Come on, you lot. Come up. Squeeze in here.
Well, I am going to my music room. At least I have a few minutes' peace before they start up again.
Pass the salt and pepper, will you?
Yeah.
By the way, have any of you lot had any problems with the kids not wanting to go out at break times?
Oh, nothing new about that.
Oh, I don't know. Now you come to mention it, yes, I think so. 1 or 2.
Why do you want to know?
I just wondered. I've noticed it with a few children in my class. I just wondered if something was going on.
Well, what sort of thing?
Ah, Mr. Sims, I see you've nearly finished your dinner.
Ah, yes, but I've got a pudding, Mr. Holiday.
Good. Well, I'm ready when you are.
Ready for what?
Oh, you remember what we discussed this morning?
Oh, yes.
So, I see you in my room in 5 minutes, okay?
Right, yes.
No need to rush. Just as soon as you're ready.
Did you see George Michael on Top of the Pops last night? He's gorgeous.
Nah, I don't like him very much. Yeah, you? Me? Yeah, you. I told you yesterday I didn't want to see you in this part of the playground. Yeah, you did. This is my territory, and you're on it. Well, I've got to go this way. Don't argue with me. You broke the rule, and I want 50 pence from you tomorrow. And if you don't pay, you're dead. Now get lost.
The way I originally conceived it was to start with the wheel. But then I thought I should make the point that transport as such started a long way before the wheel.
Yes, that's true.
However, it then occurred to me that if I went back as far as the foot, they may miss the point I want to make about modern transport systems.
Yes, the foot does seem a bit far back.
I thought you'd agree.
But how long is your talk?
Why?
Well, because, I'd like to see Mr. Beeston before afternoon school starts.
Oh, that can wait. Anyway, what I thought I'd do, and this was quite a radical idea, I thought I'd start with the Romans.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yes, I thought so. There may be some there who will disagree, but I think I can justify it.
Right.
Right. Modern transport in Britain started with the Romans. One has only to look at our motorways to see their precursors in the Roman roads, such as Watling Street, now the present-day 5, and the Icknield Way. How do you think it's shaping up so far?
Oh, very good.
To many people today, it would not occur to connect the chariot and the contraflow. But if they looked closely at the road systems employed by... However, it was clear that the stagecoach, which had been a major cause of traffic jams in the early 19th century, was coming to the end of its reign. Little did it know in 1829 that within a few years...
Just a minute.
What?
Well, shouldn't that be the owners?
What?
Well, as a stagecoach doesn't have consciousness, it wouldn't actually know anything, would it? I mean, it would be the owners of the stagecoach who wouldn't know.
Well, if you want to be pedantic about it.
Well, sorry, I wasn't being pedantic. I just thought...
Yes, all right. No need to go on. You don't think one could take that as poetic license?
What?
A stagecoach. Thinking.
Well, it's possible, I suppose.
After all, no one questions Thomas the Tank Engine talking, do they?
Yes, that's true. Look, actually, Mr. Holliday, if you'll excuse me, I really must be going. As I said, I must see Mr. Beeston before afternoon school starts.
Oh, but I'm just getting to the interesting bit.
Would you mind if we left that till later? I'm sorry, but, well, you know.
No one's got time to listen these days.
That's right, Beeston. I'm the headmaster of King Street Junior School. No, don't talk. Just listen. I said listen! Because of this infernal row, my school secretary has been forced to leave the school. And most of my staff are planning to join her. What? Yes, because of the noise. They can't teach, and that's what they're paid to do. What? No, you listen to me. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If that man hasn't finished drilling this afternoon, I shall march the whole school with all their parents down to your office tomorrow morning. And you can explain to them all why they can't have any education, right? Goodbye. Oh, and it's goodbye to my pension as well, I expect. Come in.
Mr. Beeston, can I see you for a moment?
Do I have any choice?
I'm a bit concerned. I think there's something going on in the school.
There always is, Mr. Sims, particularly today.
No, I mean something, well, rather unpleasant.
Well, in what way unpleasant?
Well, it's hard to describe, but there's an air of fear, as if some of the children were frightened to go into the playground at break.
Oh, yes.
It's only a hunch. There's nothing I can actually put my finger on.
And is it always the same children who are affected?
Well, yes. Chandra in my class. And Azam.
And Sundar.
Who?
Oh, I was just thinking aloud. Yeah, go on.
Well, I haven't seen anything, but I wondered if there might be some sort of intimidation going on in the playground.
Bullying, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, the same thought's occurring to me now. Yes, it's possible. Any ideas as to who might be responsible?
Not really, no.
Well, see if you can make some discreet inquiries, and I do mean discreet.
Of course.
In the meantime, I'll try to keep my eyes and ears open. As if this damn drilling allows me to, of course.
Oh, yes, I was going to ask about that. And Mrs. Stone?
Well, between you and me, Mr. Sims, I've just tried a bit of a bluff with the Highways Department, and if it works, I'm hoping she'll be back with us tomorrow.
Hello, Sundar.
Hello.
Trying to get home a different way tonight?
No, I've got to go and see my uncle.
Well, we'll walk along with you, shall we? Make sure you get there all right. Because you know, trying to avoid us is against the rules.
I wasn't trying to avoid you.
So he's answering back. We ought to fine him. Yeah, you bring in £1 tomorrow.
£1? But I don't have any money.
Then get it.
Where from?
That's not our problem. You just get it, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, just listen to it. Isn't silence wonderful?
If you ignore the screaming animals in the jungle out there.
That's different. But no drilling. Absolute bliss.
And Mrs. Stone's back in her office. All's right with the world.
Well, whatever Mr. Beeston said to County Hall, it obviously worked.
A pity he didn't say it sooner. It would have saved us a lot of unnecessary irritation.
Oh, come on, Mrs. Rudd. Let's be thankful for what he has done.
Well, I must admit that for once he seems to have got something right.
Praise indeed.
Although I would remind you, we are now left with that dreadful hole outside in the road.
Honestly, you're never satisfied.
I haven't seen Mr. Sims today. Is he in?
Yes, but he was staying behind to talk to one of the children in his class. He said he'd give tea a miss this morning.
That's so unwise. One needs one's mid-morning cup of tea to help survive the day. I really must have a word with him about this.
Look, Chandra, despite what you say, I believe you're frightened of someone out there in the playground.
No, I'm not.
Well, it's something like that. Used to happen to me when I was your age, you know.
To you, sir?
Yes. There were boys who would punch me if I didn't do what they said, who'd wait for me outside the school gates and follow me home.
They did that to you?
Yeah, the same as they're doing it to you. They are, aren't they?
No.
Now, don't pretend they aren't, because I know they are.
How do you know?
Well, never mind. Look, just tell me the truth. You're frightened of someone out there in the playground, aren't you?
Yes.
Well, when does it happen? At break times?
Yes, and dinner times.
And home times?
Yes, I go home the long way to avoid them. And then my mother is upset because I'm home late from school.
Oh, dear. And who's doing this to you?
I don't know.
Oh, come on, Chandra. Of course you know them. Whose class are they in? Well, are they in our class?
Oh, no, sir.
Mr. Holliday's?
No, sir.
Mrs. Wilberforce's?
No.
Mr. Long's? Is it someone in Mr. Long's class? So it is.
No, sir.
Well, look, if you won't tell me, I'm going to have to speak to Mr. Long.
No, sir. He'll think I said...
Who'll think you said? Yes. Yeah, there are one or two big boys in Mr. Long's class, aren't there? Let's see. Well, there's Roland. And there's that new boy. Carlos, is it?
It's not him, sir.
Look, lad, it's got to be stopped. And if you won't tell me who it is, then I'll have to find out another way. We can't let it go on. You don't want to be hit all the time, do you?
He doesn't hit me, sir.
Then what does he do?
He gets the other boys to do it.
And how many other children do they do this to?
Lots, sir.
So what exactly happens?
He gets us and says that the bigger boys will hit us unless we do what he says. So we do what he says.
Like what?
Sometimes we just run around when he tells us to. Or we give him things.
What sort of things?
Our sandwiches, our sweets, money.
Oh, dear. Now why didn't you tell me about this before?
Because he says he will do us properly if we tell. If he finds out, I've told you, he'll kill me.
No, he won't. Now you just leave this to me. And I promise you, he won't know that anyone's told me anything. And don't be frightened, lad. I'll be watching out for you.
Morning.
Oh, good morning, Mrs. Patterson.
It's good to see you back.
Thanks. Oh, and I am sorry about yesterday.
Oh, that's all right. How's the head?
Mine or Mr. Beeston?
Yours. We'll know how he is.
Oh, I can't tell you. I'm so relieved they've stopped that drilling.
Yes, I wish I knew how he did it. I could use that when they're digging up my road while I'm trying to watch Wimbledon.
Ah, there you are, Sims. I've been looking all over for you.
Oh, have you?
I wonder, have you a minute or two to spare?
Well, I'm busy, really busy at the moment. I want to get these back to the class before the end of break.
No, it won't take a moment.
Look, I'm sorry, I have got to go. I'll see you later, at lunchtime, OK?
Please yourself. Mr. Long.
Yes?
Have you got a minute?
Well, I'm checking this list, but, go on, it's all right, I can do it later.
Ah, good. Do you mind if I tell you a joke?
A joke?
Yes. It's a humorous touch I'd like to introduce to lighten up a speech I'm doing in transport through the ages. I heard a comedian do it on television the other night. Seemed to go down very well.
Oh, yes.
And it is relevant to my theme.
Is it a very long joke, only the bell's due any minute?
Oh, no, it's quite short.
Oh, all right, then.
Well, this man is driving along the motorway at night when a police car overtakes him and flags him down.
Yeah.
Yes, officer, he says. Excuse me, sir, says the policeman. Oh, here, I thought I might do an accent.
What sort of accent?
Well, I hadn't worked that out yet.
Oh.
I thought the joke was more important.
Yep, right.
Anyway, the policeman says, excuse me, sir, but your offside rear light isn't working. So the man goes to the rear of his car and kicks it, and the offside light comes on.
Yep.
There, says the man. Very good, sir, says the officer, having walked around the man's car to inspect
Is that the accent you're going to do?
So, Long, can I tell this joke or not?
Yeah, of course, I'm listening. Oh.
So, having walked around the man's car to inspect... Oh, blast. Anyway, so the officer says, in that case, sir, perhaps you'd like to kick the front end and see if the tax comes up.
And?
Well, that's the joke.
Is it?
Yes.
Look, I think I ought to be getting back to my class. I left him with the...
Oh, I don't know. Some people have got no sense of humour.
Here, have you heard? They reckon Mr. Merchant will be back at school tomorrow.
That's good. I mean, Mr. Beeston's all right, but he keeps going over what we've already done.
That's because he's the headmaster, isn't it? Yeah, when you're a headmaster, you don't have to do any work.
Hey, Sundar! Look out, it's Carlos!
Come on, quick!
Stop there!
What do you want?
I've been looking for you, Sundar. Come on, round the back of the huts.
Let go!
Leave him, Carlos. You keep your nose out. You know what you'll get. Now, come on.
Someone ought to tell on him.
No, you can't do that. He'll hit you.
Yeah, I know.
Here, careful.
Hello, Jenny.
Hello, Mr. Sims.
Both had your dinner?
Yes.
We was on first sitting, sir.
Oh, good. Was that Carlos I saw you with just now?
No, I don't think so.
Of course it was.
Oh, I thought so. Thank you.
You've done it now.
Yeah, what's he doing?
I don't know, but I'm getting out of here.
I told you to pay me today, didn't I? I asked my mum, but she didn't have any change. I'll get it for you tomorrow, I promise.
Promises ain't good enough.
But she didn't have change.
Then you should have taken what she did have.
I can't take it from her purse.
Are you arguing with me?
No, Carlos.
Mr. Carlos, I'm going to have to teach you a lesson in manners.
No, please.
All right, that's enough. Leave him alone.
What?
You're coming with me to see Mr. Beeston.
What for? I haven't done anything.
You were threatening Sundar and demanding money from him. I heard you.
No, sir. It was just a game. We were playing crooks, weren't we, Sundar?
Yes, sir. We were just playing.
I mean, Sundar's my friend.
Well, it didn't sound like that from where I was.
That's how we play, sir. Like they do on the telly.
Do you?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's interesting because I've just heard a different story from some of your gang.
What gang, sir?
Your mates, Carlos. The ones you order to beat up the smaller children.
That's not true, sir. They're lying.
If they are, we'll soon find out when we bring your parents up to the school.
What do you want to see them for?
It's Mr. Beeston who'll want to see them, Carlos. Tell them what you've been up to.
You're not taking me to see him?
Oh, yes, I am.
No.
Oh, no, you don't.
I ain't gonna see him. The kids just gave me the money. I didn't have to ask them for it.
Well, I take a very dim view of the whole business. You should have told me. He's in my class, and I should have been told what was going on, instead of which you go sneaking around like something out of MI5.
I wasn't sneaking around.
The way you behaved, in my opinion, it was totally unprofessional.
I caught him, didn't I?
I'd have probably caught him if I'd been told. How would you like it if I started interfering in your class's affairs without consulting you?
It wasn't just my class. It was affecting the whole school, and I did tell Mr. Beeston.
Which is why I should have been consulted, before you bulldozed your way in.
There was hardly time.
Well, I'm going to see Mr. Beeston about this.
Oh.
It's so unprofessional.
Yes, if you must.
Oh, would you excuse us, Mr. Sims?
Oh, yes, please. Look, I'm just going.
And what was all that about?
Search me.
Well, really, it's too much. I mean, if teachers insist on arguing amongst themselves, they should not do it in the staff room. We come in here to relax for a few moments, to have our cup of tea in a little peace and quiet.
Ah, well, end of another imperfect day.
You speak for yourself. As far as I'm concerned, no drilling spells perfect.
I suppose it does.
But I must catch Mr. Holliday before he goes home. His round table phoned about 5 minutes ago.
Oh, what about?
I've no idea. You'd better ask him yourself.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sims.
My fault. I wasn't looking where I was going.
Well, Mr. Sims, what can I do for you?
Well, it's Mr. Long. He's not happy about how I handled the Carlos situation.
I shouldn't let it worry you. He'll get over it. You'd have felt the same if the positions had been reversed.
That's what he said.
No, the main thing is you stopped it before it spread too far.
I hope so.
The only thing for you to remember is, next time, a bit more prior consultation, eh?
Well, let's hope there won't be a next time.
Oh, there will. Don't you worry. No, not from Carlos. I think I put the fear of God into that little swine and his cronies. But there'll be others. There always are.
I suppose so. But why do they do it? That's what gets me.
You're the history expert. You tell me. I mean, what causes alleged humanity to commit the same atrocities over and over again? The Carloses of this world are just part of that.
That's very pessimistic.
It's life, Mr. Sims. All we can do is try and catch them before they do any real damage. And if we can't, well, let's pick up the pieces afterwards.
And on that happy note...
Exactly. Home we go.
And I'll try to smooth things out with Mr. Long tomorrow.
A good idea.
Oh, sorry.
Idiots.
Hey?
No, not you.
Oh, good night, Mr. Beeston.
Good night.
You'll never guess what's happened.
Mrs. Perkins has learned to cook.
But don't talk to me about cooking. You know this speech of mine?
No.
Transport through the ages.
Oh, yeah? It sounds fascinating.
Mrs. Stone's just told me they've phoned and cancelled tonight's meeting.
No.
They have. The hotel where we were holding it has had to be shut down due to an outbreak of salmonella.
Oh, dear.
And after all the hard work I put into it.
Yes.
I even had a joke in it.
Yes, well, I've got to be off now, Fred.
Oh, well, I'm furious, I can tell you.
Poor old Fred. Oh, now, for whom does this bell toll? King Street, Junior. Who? Oh, County Hall Highways Department. Oh, the complaint about the drilling. Yes, you want Mr. Beeston for that. Oh, he's not here at the moment. He'll be in tomorrow sometime. Oh, I suggest you speak to him tomorrow, right? Thank you. Goodbye.
You've been listening to King Street Junior by Jim Eldridge, and starring Karl Howman as Philip Sims and James Grout as Mr. Beeston, the headmaster. Tom Watson featured as Mr. Holliday, the deputy head, Margaret John as Mrs. Stone, school secretary, Vivian Martin as Mrs. Rudd, Deirdre Costello as Mrs. Patterson, Paul Copley as Mr. Long, and Marlene Sidaway as Miss Lewis. Chandra was played by Leon Hamilton, Sundar by David Crane, Maureen by Victoria Keedy, and Carlos by Mark Denham. The producer was John Fawcett Wilson. We present King Street Junior by Jim Eldridge, starring Karl Howman as Philip Sims and James Grout as Mr. Beeston, the headmaster.
And I know it involves a slight readjustment of playground duties, but can I take it we're all in agreement?
Yes.
Right, next item on the agenda. A familiar problem, I'm afraid. Rude words on the boys' lavatory walls.
Oh, not that again.
I know.
It's disgraceful.
I do agree, Mrs. Rudd, but there you are.
I say, have you noticed, as the writing gets higher, the spelling gets better?
That is not very funny, Mr. Long.
And not very helpful.
I've said it before, it is a symptom of the whole lowering of standards in this school.
Kids have been writing rude words on lavatory walls since time began.
Speak for yourself, Mr. Sims.
I'm not talking about me.
All right, calm down. down. We've been through all this before.
Has the caretaker been complaining, then?
I'm sure he would if I could find him, but no, a parent reported it. Mr. Assam.
What was he doing in the toilet?
No, he didn't actually go in them. It's when his son went home from school, he told his father about the words, and Mr. Assam disapproved.
Quite right, too.
As I said, it's an old problem. It's always difficult to know how to put a stop to it, but would you all please keep your eyes open?
We can't be everywhere.
I know, but have yet another word with the boys in your class and warn them of the dire consequences that await the culprits if it carries on.
Yes, all right.
I believe we should do more than that.
Well, I fail to see what, short of demolishing the toilets.
We should be inculcating a stronger sense of morality into the children, in my opinion.
Absolutely. But another time, eh? It's 1:20. I want to get through this agenda before the bell goes.
But this is important.
Now, as you may or may not know, County Hall has suddenly discovered sex.
Hey.
And according to a new directive from them, we now have to have a proper system of sex education.
We already have one.
Oh, yes, but they want it less ad hoc and more structured.
That's the trouble, you know. When the bureaucrats discover sex, you know the fun's over.
What did you have for lunch today, Mr. Long?
What about the Muslim parents? There'll be objections.
Yes, and I hope I've anticipated them. I'm arranging to have 2 groups on Friday mornings. 4th-year girls will go to Mrs. Patterson, and Mr. Holliday has generously agreed to forego a free period to take the 4th-year boys. Together, they'll tell the children everything they need to know.
Anything I forget, the kids will tell me.
Actually, you may consider my views old-fashioned. But I am not convinced school is the right place to teach children about sex.
Where else would you teach it?
Sex is a private, sensitive matter and should be more properly taught in the home.
Oh, that's nonsense.
I don't think so.
Well, what about kids who come from homes where the parents are inadequate or even too embarrassed to talk about it?
Nevertheless...
Please, Mrs. Rudd, this is what will be happening, and that's it. Now, can we move on to the last item, which is this year's educational visit to Sutton Farm, or if you're an optimist, school holiday. Now, this year we have space for 30 children. And from the replies I've had from the 4th-year parents, it looks as though 7 girls and 23 boys want to go, which means 3 male teachers and 1 female teacher to take charge of them. And the staff members who will be going, Mr. Holliday will be in overall charge, as in previous years, Mrs. Patterson, Mr. Long and Mr. Sims.
Why?
Why what?
Why have you got their names down?
Because they're the ones who volunteered to go. Seconds out, ladies and gentlemen. Meeting over.
Right,
thank you very much.
Mr. Beeston.
Yes?
Before you disappear into your office...
What is it, Mrs. Rudd?
I wish to make a complaint about the staffing arrangements for the school educational holiday.
Yes.
Blatant favouritism, Mr. Beeston, that's what it is.
What on earth are you talking about?
Because if it isn't favouritism, then why is it that the same teachers are always chosen to go away on the school holiday?
Well, they're interested. When I ask them, I know they'll want to go.
Then why do you never ask me?
Well, you won't go, will you? Remember when I asked you 4 years ago? You said you wouldn't be seen dead inside a tent.
But that was then. I am speaking about now. How do you know that I may not have changed my attitude toward camping?
Have you?
That is not the point.
It is exactly the point, Mrs. Rudd. If I know someone isn't keen to go, I won't waste time and breath asking them.
But we should all be given the opportunity, Mr. Beeston. In fact, had you been courteous enough to invite me, I should quite like to have been considered.
Would you really?
Had I been given the opportunity.
Oh, well, I'll bear that in mind for the future.
I hope you will. Now I shall return to my class, but the point had to be made.
And who better to make it?
What was all that about?
You heard it.
Well, not exactly, but there's no mistaking Mrs. Rudd on the warpath.
That woman will be the death of me.
Oh, what did she want?
She's upset because I didn't invite her to go on the school holiday.
I didn't know she was interested.
Well, of course she isn't. It's all a big con. She's only saying it because it's another excuse to have a go at me. Actually, stick her in a tent on a damp ground sheet and she'd run a mile.
She could surprise you.
No, it's just Mrs. Rudd being awkward as usual. Anyway, what's cooking on your campfire?
You've just missed Mrs. Perkis.
Oh, good.
She came in to complain, as usual. Apparently there's a small drip in the kitchen.
That'll be Mrs. McCarthy.
Oh, be serious, please.
I am. Have you seen her?
It seems one of the radiators is leaking and she can't find the caretaker.
Oh, what's new?
Anyway, she wants you to do something about it.
All right, I'll get on to County Hall, Engineers and Plumbers Department. That'll keep me occupied for the rest of the day, won't it?
Oh, and while you're on to County Hall, Mrs. Rogers is still waiting for her disposable gloves.
What's she want disposable gloves for? She had hundreds. What'd she do with them?
Disposes of them, of course.
Very funny.
Well, don't you remember that new ruling from County Hall about illnesses involving excreted bodily fluids?
Oh, please, do you have to?
But it means she has to use gloves. And with that gastroenteritis epidemic we had last week, she used her whole stock up in 2 or 3 days.
OK, I'll see what the glove situation is.
Thank you.
Can I have my turn now?
If you must.
The new sex education policy.
Oh, yes.
We'll be starting the lessons next week, so I think we need to advise all the parents of the children involved.
That's all the 4th years.
Just a short letter. We can send it out with the children.
I'll do it this afternoon.
Good.
Are you expecting any trouble from the parents?
What do you think?
Yes.
On the other hand, name me something in this school that doesn't cause trouble one way or another.
Right, put all your things away, all your books. Leave your desks tidy before you go home. Quietly now. Quickly as you can.
Please, sir,
Yes, Gary?
can I ask you a question, sir?
Well, of course you can.
Well, is it wrong to tell lies?
You know it is.
I see. Right.
You haven't been telling a lie, have you?
Oh, no, nothing like that.
Well, that's good. What made you ask?
Well, it's these new reports.
Which reports?
These new ones you're going to do, telling our parents about us.
Oh, I won't be doing those yet, not for a long time.
But you will be doing them.
Well, yes. But you've nothing to worry about, Gary. I'll be telling the truth about you, of course.
Will you?
Yes, that you're well-behaved, honest, and that you try very hard indeed. I think your parents will be very proud of you.
Yeah, but I ain't very clever, am I?
Well, that depends on what you mean by clever.
When you put down how many marks I get in the tests, it'll show them I ain't very clever.
Well, you can't be sure of that, can you?
I do try very hard, Mr. Sims. I really do.
Well, I know that.
But when I get to the tests, I get all mixed up, and then I get them all wrong.
We all get a bit confused when we're taking tests.
But I always come bottom.
Unfortunately, not everybody's good at taking tests, and they don't always show what people really can do. But that doesn't mean to say that they aren't clever, or that they don't try hard.
But I always get bad marks, and when I come bottom, my dad hits me.
He hits you? What, for getting bad marks?
Yeah, and I was wondering, would you say I did a bit better in the next test than I really did?
Well,
I mean, it can't be wrong if it stops me being hit, can it?
yes, but it would be dishonest, Gary.
I won't tell no one, I promise. It's just I get fed up with being hit.
Yeah, well, I can see that. But, look, I have to tell the truth, lad. We all do. If we didn't tell the truth, no one would trust us, would they?
I trust you, Mr. Sims.
Yes, well, look, you'd better get off home. And leave this with me. I'll have to have a little think about it. Go on, run along.
I'm sorry to say this, Mrs. Patterson, but I take exception to the way this whole affair is conducted by Mr. Beeston, and the manner in which he informs us, all cut and dried. I think it's a disgrace.
Oh, I don't know.
Sugar?
No, thank you.
Not that I am accusing you personally of currying favour with Mr. Beeston.
Oh, thank you.
But no one else gets a look in. No one else is even consulted about the school trip.
I think he just asked all those who might be interested.
He didn't ask me.
Well, he might for next year.
And pigs might fly, Mrs. Patterson. No, I've said it before, that man is a dictator. He has no more conception of democratic principles than a block of wood.
Yes, but what I want to know is what exactly happens on this school holiday?
For a start, be careful with that word holiday.
Why?
It might be a holiday for the kids, but it's hard work for us. We're on duty 24 hours a day, don't forget.
Oh, yeah, well, I realise that, but what do we actually do?
Didn't Beeston tell you?
Well, not exactly. He came up to me and asked me if I'd been a Boy Scout. I said no, but I had been thrown out of the Wolf Cubs, and he said that'd do. And did I fancy a week's camping holiday at the school's expense? I said it sounded a nice idea. The bell went, and the next thing I knew, I'd been volunteered.
He missed his vocation, you know. He should have been a used car salesman.
but I still don't know what everyone does during the week. I asked Mr. Holiday, and he said suffered.
Right. Well, what happens? We travel down in a coach. You, me and Yvonne and the kids. Right? Fred follows us in the minibus with all the luggage. General gear, odds and ends, you know.
I see.
It's a bit like wagon train without the Red Indians.
Oh, right.
And then when we get there, we allocate the kids 6 to a tent. And then we all start praying.
What for?
A, that the tents stay up. And B, that it doesn't rain.
Oh, it sounds marvellous.
Well, you did volunteer, didn't you?
Hey, you two! Stop that!
Sorry, sir. It was only friendly, sir.
I know, that's how wars start.
Yes, sir.
Now get outside. You shouldn't be in school yet. It's only 9:15.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir.
What was all that about?
I'm in training for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh, very funny.
Well, I don't know. When you look at some of the people they're giving it to, I could be a serious contender.
Yes, well, please be a serious headmaster. There's a parent to see you.
Oh?
It's Mrs. Carioni. I've put her in your office.
Was that wise?
It's all right, don't worry. There aren't any papers lying about. She just seemed very unhappy, and I took pity on her.
Well, you never take pity on me.
Oh, please, she really does look unhappy, so be diplomatic.
Serious, do you think?
It may be. I don't know.
Right. Good morning, Mrs. Carioni. No, please, don't get up.
Thank you for seeing me, Mr. Beeston. I know you're a busy man.
Never too busy to see a parent, Mrs. Carioni. Now, what can I do for you?
It's about that letter you sent yesterday. The one Giulietta brought home.
Oh, yes, about the new sex education lessons.
Yes, that's right. We were up most of the night talking about it, me and my husband.
I'm sorry if it upset you.
It's not just the letter, Mr. Beeston. It's this whole sex education. I'm very worried about it. So is Mr. Carioni.
Well, perhaps I can help. What in particular aren't you happy about?
Well, it's what you read about in the papers, isn't it? You know, children being taught in school about sex, homosexuality and things, and abortion.
Mm-hmm.
We're not happy about it. We don't want it for our Giulietta.
Well, you shouldn't believe everything you read in the newspapers, you know.
Oh, yes, but they're not always wrong, are they? And you know what they say? There's no smoke without fire.
Now, please, let me reassure you, Mrs. Carioni, the sex education lessons Giulietta would get in this school will be a straightforward biological and scientific explanation of how babies are conceived and born. And that's all there is to it, I promise you.
And what about marriage? It seems there's no mention of marriage.
Well, it'll probably crop up. But we thought one step at a time.
No, it's all too early in their lives. They're only 11 after all. They're still children.
But some children are mothers at 12, aren't they?
Yes. Poor things.
And how would you feel if Giulietta came home and told you she was pregnant?
That's what we're trying to avoid, Mr. Beeston. We know it's a hard world.
And we're doing our best to prepare them for it. And, sex education is part of that preparation.
I know you're doing what you think best, Mr. Beeston, but we're not happy about it, and I think we'd like to leave it for the moment.
Does that mean you prefer Giulietta doesn't attend the sex lessons?
Yes, that's what we finally decided. Mr. Carioni and me.
I see.
It's what we want, Mr. Beeston.
And you'll explain it all to her yourself, will you?
When the time comes, when we've decided she's ready, but it's too early yet.
Well, sorry.
Anyway, I ought to be going now. But thank you for seeing me, Mr. Beeston.
Well, thank you for coming in, Mrs. Carioni, but I do wish you'd reconsider for Giulietta's sake.
Later, perhaps, when she's ready.
But she is 11, nearly 12.
She'll be told about it when she's ready. Anyway, thank you again for seeing me.
Well, thank you for coming. Honestly, I don't know. Come in.
Problems?
For Giulietta Carioni, very probably.
Oh?
She'll be told about sex when her parents think she's ready.
Oh, but not now.
Now, when will she be ready? When she's 14, 3 months pregnant and desperate?
Oh, it doesn't happen all that often, does it?
More than most people realise. And what do we get then? The abandoned baby dead in a phone box. A 13-year-old dying because she tried to give herself an abortion.
Look, you'll make yourself depressed if you start thinking like that.
Now, what other way is there to think about it?
Mrs. Carioni must feel she's doing the best for her daughter.
Well, of course she does. That's why I find it so depressing.
Hello, am I interrupting anything?
No, come in, Miss Lewis. Make my day.
He needs cheering up.
Oh, in that case, I think I'd better go.
Why? What's your problem?
I've got domestic science this afternoon and the cooker's packed up.
Oh, no. Well, can't you do something else? Make a salad or something?
We did that last week. And I've swapped lessons with Mrs. Wilberforce specially so we can have the domestic science room this afternoon.
Oh, well, I suppose I better see if I can track down the caretaker.
Oh, you'll be lucky.
But I need it working by this afternoon.
All right, Miss Lewis, leave it to me. We'll try to get it going. Meantime, I'll go and see if I can find Mr. Thurm.
Hey, Mr. Sims.
Oh, why aren't you in the playground?
I was just going, but I wanted to ask you something first.
Well, what is it, Sundar?
It's this new sex lesson, sir.
What about it?
Well, my brother's in the 4th year, so I mean he's getting it.
Is he?
What I want to know is, why can't we have it in the 3rd year? I mean, I need it as much as my brother.
Do you?
I mean, it ain't fair, is it?
Well, since you put it like that, no, I suppose it isn't.
I mean, we all got to learn how to do it, ain't we? Properly, I mean.
Well, yes. Yes, I suppose so.
So what I mean is, can't we have them as well as the 4th year?
Well, it isn't really up to me, Sundar, but I tell you what, I'll have a word with Mr. Beeston about it. How's that?
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Right.
Come in.
Mr. Higgs to see you. He says it's important.
Oh, I'll have to ring later. Just remind me, Higgs?
Anthony, Mr. Marchant's class.
Ah, yes. Come in, would you, Mr. Higgs?
Thank you.
I'll see you're not disturbed.
Thanks, Mrs. Stone. Well, now, what can I do for you?
I won't beat about the bush, Mr. Beeston.
Good.
This letter of yours about this proposed sex education.
Yes?
Well, I don't want it for my Anthony.
I see. And is there any particular reason why not?
I'd have thought that was obvious.
Not immediately, no.
AIDS, Mr. Beeston.
AIDS?
That's right. I'm told there are only 2 ways he can get it, and, well, I don't want him encouraged.
I'm sorry, Mr. Higgs, but you've lost me.
I'd have thought it was clear enough.
Do I take it that you believe that the sex education that Anthony receives at school will lead him to get AIDS?
It'll make him think about sex, won't it? And AIDS is only 1 step on from there.
Well, I think it's a bit more than 1 step, Mr. Higgs.
It's easy for you to say that, Mr. Beeston. Anthony's not your son.
I respect that, Mr.